There we go. Cool. So, doing me little enter from a pre-written bit of speech on YouTube, and we're done. So yeah, so so that's it now. Basically, that what's running on your screen in Discord is also now going live out on YouTube. And then yeah, well, it's just about kicking the heels now until we go live with the track pan around 5 to 7. But like I said, Jack will be here in 5-10 minutes. I'm gonna go do the briefing now, so I shall see you in about 10 minutes or so.
No problem at all.
Cheers, mate.
Craig's faster than us. I thought it was him asking.
Oh.
No.
Well, I'm going to be really nice here, and I'm going to send you the race setup as well, but I'm going to send it to you in a file because I don't want everyone else within the server knowing exactly what's going on here. So if you know where to put it, do you know where to put it? Wait, pause.
Apparently you don't.
I'll be waiting for the text.
What do I do?
Right, there's 4 files here. Download all of them. I've just sent you, and then you want to put them in your documents, Assetto Corsa, setups, Mercer V8, and then under VHE Interlagos, and drop them into that folder.
Hang on, can I get on this?
Shut up! As if you need a setup. We're restricting you as much as possible. Well, actually, we aren't. Rich just decided of his own accord to restrict you because you're just far too quick.
I am not far too quick.
That's Johnny.
Oh, it's Johnny. Oh, it sounded like Ollie. Oh,
No,
okay.
no.
Yeah.
Johnny and Ollie.
Ollie,
Alright,
you
hang on
went
a
way
minute.
too quick, mate. Ollie,
Johnny, do you know what? I'm now torn. Do I send you the set? Seeing as the last time we did this, you came at me at whatever track it was, like a rate of knots, and nearly won it. So
That's in the past. We've moved forward. We've moved forward on this. We've come a long way.
okay.
I've got a question for Johnny, actually.
Oh God.
Sorry.
Go on.
You know when I
you
messaged
go.
you? When you was in Thailand in a swimming pool at a bar? Was it a successful night?
That I can't. To be honest, I can't remember that night.
I tell you what, the only thing you need to know about Thailand is it's only not a successful night if you don't want it to be.
Oh no, she wasn't Thai. Where were you from? She had a funny accent.
I honestly don't know. Oh, the Australian.
Peckham.
Oh, that's
Yes. Yes. Yeah, it was all
Right, driver briefing, gents. Get yourself in the pits, please. Let's get it done.
Oh.
Driver
Johnny, I've sent
briefing
you the
right
message.
now. Mr. Butler, Mr.
Oh, where have you
Smith,
sent them, mate?
please exit to the pits.
Discord.
Okay, guys,
Discord for
quiet
both.
down. Let's get on with it because I've got stuff to do.
All right.
Thank-
Jesus.
Thank you. Right, okay. I am comfortable with track limits here and software caught track limits. However, I'm going to repeat it for those of you that seem to forget. The white line is the edge of the track that is extended by a red and white painted curb when that curb is attached to that white line. The green AstroTurf is not part of the track and neither is the pit lane. But I don't think I don't think we'll have any track limit issues here. At least none have been reported to me, and I've not noticed any, so we should be okay. Please make sure you are on push to talk or mute when you are in qualifying race 1 and race 2. There is no driver to driver communication. You're allowed 3 warnings for your track limits, which I said the software will judge, but obviously we will be looking. If I notice anything during the broadcast, I will do a manual check tomorrow. Please don't let me do a manual check tomorrow. I don't want to be in the office tomorrow, thank you. However, on the 4th cut, you will be given a drive-through, which you must serve within 2 laps. Unless you're on the second to last lap, you cannot serve a drive-through on the last lap. You will be given a time penalty if you are given a drive-through just before the last lap. What's next? Jump starts also get a drive-through penalty, which you must serve within 2 laps. Again, if you don't serve that within 2 laps, the server will give you a DQ from the session. Please don't use the escape key or the warp to pit buttons to go back to the pits. You need to drive there, drive into your pit box, your red box where you stop the car, and once you're in there you can use the warp button or the escape button. If you do it outside that red pit box, the server will DQ you from the session, so please don't do that. We are going to get lots of blue flags here. 90-minute race. It's not a long lap, so there will be lots of blue flags. You will be shown a blue flag when the driver that's on the lead lap that's approaching you is within 1 second. You must move out the way safely. Do not try and be clever. Do not try and race them. Do not impact their race in any way. Obviously, you will get a penalty if there is any contact or you impact their race. Also, yellow flags. If you see yellow flags on your screen, it means there's been an incident. Same as in real life, you need to be lift and be prepared to stop. If you go ploughing into an incident and cause more carnage, you will get double the penalties that you would normally get. So please be mindful of that. The end of the race, continue to the pits, apart from the top 3 who line up on the grid. First on left, second in the middle, third on the right. Any questions?
Yeah, I've got.
Okay.
Well, 2 questions. One, is the drive-through penalty thing fixed?
Well, you mean your anomaly where you drove through and it didn't give it to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody else got it worked for, so I'm just putting it down as an anomaly for you. Everybody else cleared their drive-throughs fine. It must be
Okay,
it must be AC Alien.
Is it also set in real penalty that the drive-through must last at least 11 seconds?
Real penalty is switched off for track cuts and is switched off for speeding and pit lane. The only thing that it's used for is anti-cheat at the moment, so the server will do pit lane, speed limit and track cuts.
Beautiful, thank you.
Alright guys, carry on, see you in a bit. So I am now, just so you know, 4 minutes late starting the title video.
Between the two of them!
The inside of coats.
Parker gets too heavily involved.
And that's Whitehead and Coates.
Welcome, one and all, to VRRC for the World Endurance League here at Sao Paulo. Yes, that's right. We're all the way in Brazil, and we're not here for the Formula One. We're here for something far more entertaining, and that is, of course, the continuation of the World Endurance League after a good 9 or 10 weeks off. We are back to GT3 action and back to sort of some more endurance-style action as well. My name is Jack Oliver. Be joined by a new voice. No, not Andy McEwen. He's not here, unfortunately, today. So we've drafted in a bit of a newbie, but a name that you will be far more familiar with than you were expecting. It is Scott Bugner. Scott, how the devil are we today?
I'm just trying to cool off, but sun's out where I am. It's still about 26 degrees. I've got the fan on, and very much looking forward to this. And I think we'll be getting slightly hotter during the action in the race.
Yes, it's we might not be at the physical Sao Paulo circuit, but it is probably just as hot. Look, the fan is working delightfully, and you can't hear it on the broadcast. It is a win-win situation right now. Right, we are, as I said, at round 5 of Sao Paulo. We've already been to Qatar. We were in Imola. That was right at the beginning of the year. Try and cast your mind back there. I tried. I can't do it. And we went for an 8-week championship for the minis, and then we returned to Spa and Le Mans. And then we went for another 8-week championship with the BMWs, which has just come to a close. Hence, why we are back to the Endurance League. Sao Paulo and COTA are coming up for you over the next 2 weeks before we resume the rest of the major championships, which we'll get to. 4 cars that are all available, or we'll get to it right now. 4 cars are available. You probably saw them a second ago. You probably heard me talk about them before. So let's talk about a new championship.
Cool. There we go.
You can do. There you go.
I'm that flexible. I'm that flexible.
BMWs, Lamborghinis, Mercedes, and Lexus are all available. The Lexus is fairly underused, but hopefully Olivia is going to, give it some force today and show that it can be a competitive car on the grid. 90-minute races, full live broadcast, first, second, and third trophies. You know the deal by now, hopefully, but it is a more endurance-style event. Being a particularly endurance-heavy event. Rich Hayden, we've got the Coopers coming up.
We do, yes. Do you mind covering that with me while I sort something out with the server in the background?
I will indeed.
Thank you.
So, just while there's some technical issues in the background, I will tell you about the Coopers. And in fact, actually, I think we might be able to get the opinions of Scott in a second because I'm hoping Scott's racing it. But you can see that the next major championship is using a car that, although looks fairly similar to a tried and trusted machinery that we've used before in the Coupe for TCR, but this one is the brand new 2024 model, which apparently is even better than the old one, which is going some because the last one was the most popular car you could ask for at VRRC. Some great circuits there, and Scott, as a driver, I'm hoping you're racing in it, but it sort of definitely wets the whistle for any driver out there who wants to take part.
It does, yeah. It's it's like the TCR Championship. It's like touring cars. It's going to be close. It's front-wheel drive, so dare I say it, there might be a few sideways moments for certain people. When you're getting close and you're banging door mirrors. But the good thing is the front-wheel drive. You can 9 times out of 10 hit the throttle, try and straighten it up, and carry on, which I think makes it a lot more interesting, a lot more exciting. I am doing it, so I'm just waiting for the few bits for my rig to come. I've got a new PC, new steering wheel, new rig, so I'm hoping we can be at the front with that one. But yeah, I think it'll be good. I mean, there's a lot of cars that have entered so far, and yeah, I think we'll do well in that one.
I was about to mention the thing that Rich Hayden is most excited about is the fact that we've got a full grid for it. 30 cars Obviously, Scott being one of them, and the rest of the field is fairly full up as well. I can see that the server's kick-started.
Yeah,
So, Rich,
I'm
is there
back.
anything you'd like to sort of put in for this one?
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, sorry, I had a quick issue with the server, and just as you come to me, I've just put a sweet in my mouth, so I apologise for that as well. So yeah, look, we're on quite a high grid. We lost a couple of people on the grid, but we're still at 28 drivers, which I'm very comfortable with. Yeah, really looking forward to it. There's an update coming on the car before we start the championship as well, which has got some big improvements on where the physics are right now, which is great. So yeah, really looking forward to this, and I think everybody I speak to is as well.
Yeah, it's got some great tracks on it. So, right, back to the World Endurance League. What are we looking at right now? Well, the top three from last time out at Le Mans. It was a bit of an epic race, to be honest, right up until Jack Smith pulled a relatively nice lead in the end, but it's quite close between the two BMWs for a large proportion of the race. Jack Smith and Oliver Gibson came first and second, with Craig Curtis coming home in third. A pretty solid effort for Craig Curtis, I'd say. In the
had a good
Mercedes,
round.
actually, was very pleased with how he got on. We had some other drivers right at the front end as well who didn't quite get on the podium, but Adam Lyle was fourth, Paul Laramie was fifth, Johnny Ogden was sixth. And Johnny Ogden's actually doing particularly well in the championship as well, which I'm sure we can have a quick look at now, including all balance of performances. I have been told that the BMWs have been restricted slightly because they were just far too quick on the straights here at Sao Paulo and Le Mans, so they've been restricted by 15%, I think it was.
That's correct.
Of top speed, is that Rich?
It's just an overall limiter on the engine. It reduces the power by 15%, basically.
There we go. So Jack Smith may well be caught, considering he's not here tonight as well. So Joel Lask has a little bit of an advantage to try and pick up and get going in terms of his championship charge. Johnny Ogden, as I mentioned, he's on a strong championship so far in that Mercedes. He's up to third place, only 3 points behind Joel Lask. And then Eric Axelson, who's not here either, is sat in fourth. So Johnny should look to try and take advantage of this this evening. Oliver Gibson, after performing so well at Le Mans, is struggling with the fact that at round 3, he didn't actually get on the grid. So he's already had a drop round. He is here tonight, though, and given his performance at Le Mans, you would expect him to be performing at the top end as well. Andy Carroll down to Craig Curtis in 10th is the first for you, and I do believe there is a second screen, and potentially even a third.
There is indeed.
So Kai Kokashiwa in 11th, all the way down to Stuart Vickers in 20th place. You can see some the sort of big names in there that maybe drivers unfortunately have just missed a few rounds, but will look to fight at the sharp end. Josh Martin is certainly a driver that's turned up in the previous championship at the BMWs. He had a really strong end to that one. Hopefully he'll have a strong Sao Paulo here as well today. And Lee Piercy is another driver who's gained a lot of experience since the last time we were doing the World Endurance League. And as I said, Olivia in the lone Lexus, we're very much looking forward to seeing how she gets on. And the third page as well in a second. There we go. Thomas Potter all the way down to Darren Butler. A few drivers who haven't unfortunately performed at all. Stu Henderson and Darren Butler. For the rest of them, you can see familiar names on RRC grids. Right, I think that's all it is for the build-up for Interlagos. We are about to go into qualifying, but before we do that, let's take a quick on-board lap of the famous Brazilian circuit before we get into the thick of the action this evening. So, Sao Paulo, it's a fantastic circuit, to be honest, and it's got a great character. In fact, it's actually one of the F1 circuits that really are skirting the line, apparently, with how much they add to the circuit, how much they take away in terms of the safety, and basically they do just the bare minimum to satisfy the demands of Formula One without destroying its essential character, which is quite refreshing, really, isn't it, Scott? Because a lot of circuits are going too far the other way, and you sort of lose the risk-reward factor in motorsport a lot of times, don't you?
Yeah, I think it's always nice when you've got a circuit, especially on a qualifying lap, when you nail a lap and you get that big adrenaline rush, and you know you've pushed it to the edge and you're right to the white lines everywhere you need to be, and it feels good. And I think Brazil is a proper original old school F1 circuit. I've done a lot of this on F1 like the sim races, and it always calls for really good racing. It's close, and especially through sector 2 where you've got the tight rights and left hairpins, and I'm sure there'll be a few people here that will be doing some dive bombing and having a go.
Yeah, I hope so. It was actually led by the construction of it and the sort of boom of Interlagos, which apparently began about 1926. It was actually British-led entrepreneur Luis Romero Sanson, who was actually the big sort of benefactor in trying to build the circuit up to what it was. So even though it is Brazilian, it's actually really been pushed forward by a Brit, which is
ladies and gentlemen at home, don't think that Jack's got some amazing knowledge of all the circuits here. He's clearly reading that straight from Wikipedia.
I am not reading that straight from Wikipedia, actually. It is something that I know off the top of my head because it's the only thing about Interlagos I know off the top of my head. But it's, British-driven, shall we say, which I quite like. Oliver Gibson is on pole position.
Provisional.
German, the German car. Provisional pole position, yes. 14 minutes to go. About a second behind him is Craig Curtis, who, as I said, is actually performing very well in these sort of endurance-led events. And the GT3 cars especially. It is a completely different kettle of fish, isn't it, driving these GT3s, Scott, compared to the BMWs or the Minis or the TCR cars that we've quite often come accustomed to here at VRRC.
Yeah, it's a different kettle of fish. There's a lot more power involved. Brakes are a lot, in my opinion, brakes are a lot sharper as well. But they also get, I think, hotter quite quickly as well. We drove. I think I chose the BMW last time with Joel, and I found probably after 3 or 4 meetings, it took a little while to get used to. But once you get used to it and you get a setup dialed in, and the cars they feel awesome. The grip on them's really good. The downforce is good, and as we can see from here, the toe is really good as well, actually, on these, especially with their big rear wings.
Well, I was going to mention this because quite often you got a long time on full throttle coming out of the final couple of corners, don't you? And then all of a sudden you're into an overtaking opportunity. We see it time and time again in Formula One. People dive bombing into turn 1. Is that something that we're going to see? It's almost like using the DRS, isn't it? The amount of slipstream you can get, or using the hybrid that we saw in the BMWs.
Yeah, I think it will be exactly the same as that. If you can get yourself a good run coming out of the last corner, and you can get right behind the rear wing of another car. I think personally, there's a lot of you can go to the inside or outside at the first corner, because obviously you've got the left for the first corner, but then you go to the outside, you're then on the inside for turn 2. So there's a couple of little strategies you can do there, and like I said, I'm sure we're going to see certain people go for the moves, and yeah, but again, even coming out of turn 3, that long back straight, these cars, the toe is phenomenal.
Yes, it is, and you can actually see the map of the circuit, weirdly, at about a 90-degree angle on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. I've never seen it illustrated in that sort of weird portrait view. I don't really know even way to say it. But,
are you criticising the way I've set up the screen now?
Well, you criticised my factual findings, so I thought, yeah, I would. But I also want to say a big welcome and thank you to everybody in the YouTube chat. A person who I actually saw earlier on in there, having said that, I've just gone off it, but I saw Jack Werrell, who's a commentator I worked with back in Sim Race as well. So, Jack, say hello to you. Nice of you to tune in. And we've got, of course, Dave in the chat, as we normally do, and Elaine, and Catherine Potter. So, a big thank you for everybody tuning in. Hopefully there'll be some good conversation and commentary from yourselves, even if you get bored of me, Scott, and Rich. Right, who else have we got fighting for that front end? Well, I can tell you that Oliver Gibson, while we were sort of chatting on did extend his provisional pole position, but then it's been reined in a little bit by Craig Curtis. Chris Blake and Adam Lyle ahead of Joel Lask, and obviously Joel that you know quite well, Scott. How annoyed will he be currently sat in 5th place, or is he not that type of character?
Well, he did ask me to big him up on the commentary, but I'm not going to because it's Joel. But he did say that he has been struggling slightly due to, again, the driver's excuse. He's had a bit more weight put on the car. They all moan about that. We all do. But he did say he's not feeling great with the car with this extra ballast. And I think, especially around this circuit, it's quite a stop-start, like I said, especially in Sector 2. So he might struggle slightly, but we know, Joel's one of them drivers that he can pull a lap out of the bag when he needs to, and I'm sure he'll be right at the front.
Yeah, Scott sharing blows with Joel, not just on the track, but in the commentary box as well, by the sound of it. So, glad to see that hasn't died away. Joel Lask is actually, to be fair, on 47 kilos, which is the most amount of kilos anybody is carrying out there. So, up that hill, that will probably make a big difference, won't it? And as well as the stopping into the first corner, going down the hill and everything like that, it will be a bit of a hindrance on him, but the likes of Oliver Gibson's got 26, so he's on nearly half of what Joel Lask. Craig Curtis has got 17 kilos, so the better he does through this championship, the heavier that car will get, but he started off got a pretty decent position. And Scott, I was actually talking to Josh Martin quite a few times, actually, towards the end of the BMW Cup, and he was saying he sort of did it right. Eric Axelson told him that you really want to start a championship light and get heavier, unlike the way Jack Smith does most of our championships, which is unfortunately start heavy and have to try and lose the weight and then come back strong at the end. It tends to be the drivers who are right in the fight towards the end of it are those who start off light, like Craig Curtis.
I'll try that for the Seats, and I'll let you know. I'll try that for the Cupras. Yeah, no, I think it's definitely the best way to go. If you can get a good few rounds in and you're light and you've got the positions and the points you need to, sometimes it's okay just to have that one or two off round. Still get the points. As Tom Ingram says, it's like a pointsy round. It's what you need. It's one of them. You need to be consistent, but the weight does hinder you quite a lot, and you don't really realise it until when you jump in the car and you've got that extra weight. You start driving around doing a little bit of practice, and you don't really you feel it, but not awfully like that. But as soon as you get other cars on the grid with you and they're driving around, you're going, okay, I'm 6/10 down here. What can I do? And there's not a lot you can do. It's just tweaking the setups here and there, and just trying to get it to work, which is what Jack does really well. Jack Smith did really well for the BMWs. He said he worked really hard trying to get the setups right, and it worked really well for him. So it just takes a bit of time, I think.
Yeah, nice to see that he was prioritising setting up the BMW rather than that pesky master's degree that he was trying to get towards the end of it as well. Getting in the way of the VRRC, obviously. Have you? Sorry, Rich.
I was just saying that's disgusting.
I know, it's shocking, isn't it?
Yes.
It's not what you should be doing. But have you ever been in a situation, Scott, where you have that ballast on board, you don't really feel like it's the Josh Martin going very wide. You don't really have any sort of notice of it in practice or even maybe qualifying because you're in sort of dead air almost. And then you get into the race and you hit your braking point and you realise everybody else can brake 5 yards further on than you. You think, oh my God, this is going to be difficult.
I think you want to ask Joel that because he hit the back of me quite a few times, hasn't he? And you, yeah. Yeah, no, it does. You can definitely feel it, especially on half braking zones. I can't remember the exact track. I think it might have been Donington, which is quite hard on brakes. You can really feel it. And like I said, when you're braking for that first corner at Redgate, you think I can brake now, and then the car behind you's sort of another 5, 6, maybe even 10 meters, and they can go, and then they can brake. It does hinder you, but I've always had that motto of slow in and fast out. So if you can just stop the car, get the car stopped, get on the apex. I say that. I make it sound easy, but it's really not. Especially when you've got a full weight, it does hurt. But these guys are, they know what they're doing. I'm sure they've been practicing and getting a setup right, and I'm sure Joel won't make that excuse at the end.
Well, I was going to say they've had enough time to get the setup right and practice and all that sort of thing. But Rich, actually, they don't have that much time, do they? Because this server's not actually up for practice, and these cars aren't available or anything until the BMWs finish up. So they've only had a week.
That's correct, yeah. So, yeah, the practice server went live pretty much the day after BMW. Of course, they can do their own offline practice. That's not a problem. But the official server with the live timing pages and all the Delta information for them is a week before each round.
Yeah, so it doesn't leave that much time. Although, having said that, in the real world, you normally turn up on Friday and you get two 15-minute sessions and then you get launched into qualifying. So it is quite a lot of time in that regard, actually. And Scott, I don't know if you've ever done this, but I've seen people rack up about 300 laps on these practice servers before now, and which is a little bit excessive, but it does go to show that practice can make perfect, because those drivers have improved drastically over the time that they've actually done that.
Yeah, I think the thing is, I find you can actually probably do too much practice where you kind of burn yourself out and you're trying so hard to get quicker that you start overdriving the car. I mean, yes, practice does make perfect, and yes, obviously you do gain time over the course of a week or so. But I find that I just try and do around about 50, 60 laps of practice, and that's me finding a setup, sort of tweaking it, with a lot of help from Andy Carroll, can I just say, because he's been my teammate from the BMWs, and he's also going to be my teammate in the Cupras. We kind of bounced off each other and we tried different setups. But yeah, it does take a bit of time. I think Andy did do a practice. I think it was for the BMWs. I think maybe the first round he'd done nearly 300 laps, and it did show he'd done really well. I think it was, I can't remember what track it was what I did, but I literally asked Rich if I could race, and I jumped straight in, and I only done about 5-6 laps practice, but it did hinder me slightly. So yeah, you can overdrive, you can sort of burn yourself out from doing too much, but it definitely helps doing some.
Gonna say, great practice can create great laps, can't it? But bad practice can create bad habits, which is worse all of a sudden. So it's worth knowing exactly that you're driving the car well, and if you are just driving around thinking you're doing the best you possibly can, and you're actually driving it with some poor technique or not quite fitting the car and the driving style, it's all of a sudden it's very difficult to get out of those habits. Then you're pretty much screwed for the championship. So it's always better to work with people, work with teammates or other people in the VRRC and stuff like that, just to make sure that you are doing the best that you can possibly do, and then repeating those actions is really where we get the money shot. Stuart Henderson was on two green sectors, 1 and 2, but sector 3 let him down a little bit. He's currently in 13th. Nobody else seems to be improving. Joel did go green in sector 1. Sector 2 wasn't an improvement, but there's an argument to say that he's going to get a little bit faster as he came across the line. He didn't really. No, he didn't at all, actually. So he's still stuck in 5th place. Craig Curtis has just gone green in sector 1, so we could see him on a bit of a charge for pole position, but he's going to have to really do an awesome lap in comparison to the ones he's done before to have any chance of catching up to our provisional pole man, which is Oliver Gibson, who is basically a second ahead. Craig Curtis is probably about 1 or 2 tenths up on this current lap. Brad Smith has just gone green in sector 2, and I think it's about half a second up on his current time as well. So he could jump up, and in fact he does jump up into 4th place. I'm glad I actually caught my eye with that one. As Adam Lyle's in the pits, Thomas Potter's in the pits, and John Jones is, so they're not going to improve anytime soon. Brad Smith with 2 green sectors is a really strong time. Lee Pearcey with a green sector 2. Johnny Ogden just came across the line with a green sector 3, but no improvement. But Lee Pearcey is probably about a 10th off his fastest time right now. May not see a big improvement as Craig Curtis went green sector 2 as well. So 2 green sectors for Craig Curtis. I don't think it's going to be enough for pole position. I don't think it was a particularly amazing exit from the final corner either, but as he comes up to the line, it may well stretch him just a little bit further away from Chris Blake. He's hugging the left-hand side, comes across the line, and it is an improvement. It's a 131.871. What is the gap now? It's only by about a 10th of a second. And Scott, a bit demoralising, I imagine, when you put in the lap of a lifetime and you're still over half a second away from pole. It must be quite hard to keep going. Yeah,
it does. Yeah, you kind of look at your lap and think, I've nailed this, and it's happened a few times. Especially, I remember with Eric when he was right at the top of his game. I used to try and nail the lap, and I'd look and go, 4 tenths, really? Where am I going to find that? I'm going to have to cut a corner and hope that Rich doesn't see me do it. Yeah, it is a bit demoralising, but the thing is with these sort of things, you just got to take your time. Obviously now we've only got a minute and a half left, but it's a long race, you know. And I think Craig Curtis, especially in the BMWs, he's really come on strong. Me and him had a great battle. I think it was in round 2 or round 3 in the BMWs, and he's really done well and come on strong. And I think, you know, it's all about consistency in these sort of endurance races where you know, it's not like a sprint race where you just go for it from lap 1 and you don't have to worry about your tyres as much, whereas here you do. So I think you should still be really happy with second position so far.
Yeah, I think he will be, to be fair. We did keep an eye on Lee Piercy there. He was on our screen for a while because he was green sector 1. The sector 2 wasn't terrible, but it wasn't particularly brilliant, and then he screwed up that final corner, unfortunately. So he wasn't going to get any better, and that probably ruined his next lap as well, because of course you carry that momentum all the way down to the first corner. So we'll keep an eye out on Lee Piercy because he does threaten to go a little bit quicker. Johnny Ogden, which as I look at my broadcast screen, actually I realise is on our screen right now. So is on a green sector 1. He's the only real driver inside the top 10, in fact, who's got a green sector to his name. Lee Piercy has gone green sector 1. He is knocking on the door of those top 10, but he can't seem to quite finish off the lap, which is a bit of a shame. We've only got 20 seconds remaining. A lot of people in the pit not bothering even to cross the finish line. They're not going to get any better. They're quite happy with where they are, probably because, like Scott said, it's not about the sprint qualifying. It's about just staying consistent, and the amount of fatalities that we have during these races in terms of mechanical issues or drive-through penalties, other things like that, I quite often find that we end up with a bit of a mixed order anyway. But one driver who is going slightly quicker is Johnny Ogden. However, coming out the final corner, it does look like he's probably about even with where he is. So Johnny Ogden to come across the line, about 0.2 of a second is what he needs. It's not going to get it to overtake Thomas Potter, who sits in 8th place just above him, who's also in the pit. So I think that's pretty much everyone who's out there. No one's on a green lap, no one's on a green sector, and most people have already crossed the finish line. So we are going to go and jump to a quick advert break where we'll speak to our pole position, our 2nd place, and our 3rd place before we get into the race. Well, that's qualifying done and dusted. Before we get into the 90-minute race, why don't we have a chat to a few of our drivers, namely the top 3 from qualifying. Chris Blakey is the driver that we're going to have a first, and it's 3rd place for you there, Chris. I mean, I'll be honest, we didn't see that much of you. We didn't particularly see the lap. It's you weren't that far off Craig Curtis, and in fact, I think I heard you just say there you potentially think you might have been able to pip him.
I was 2 tenths up on a 32, so my Delta said I was on for a 38, 30, possibly 37, and then Rich dragged me in here and I could put me off, so I'm going to blame Rich fully for that.
Is that why you went off the circuit in sector 3?
Yes, yeah.
I
kind of, well, it just put me off slightly. Shouldn't do, but it did. Isn't, but I still got 3rd, so I'm happy with that.
To be fair, you may well actually blame me for that one as well, because your sector 1 wasn't an improvement, so I jumped to the advert break and then we started dragging people in, so I do apologise about that. But we were talking to Scott Bugner, he was saying it's a long man's game here though, isn't it? Because although 2nd or 3rd, probably doesn't matter too much because at the end of the day, it's about what you can do over the course of 90 minutes.
Yeah, consistency is key. Definitely trying to keep consistent lap around here is pretty difficult. And yeah, it's a long old race. I'm sweating already, so this is going to be an interesting evening.
I was going to say, what is your cooling situation like? I mean, not only for you, but also your PC. That's what I fear in these sort of conditions.
Well, the lights are still green. I've got my lights go red if it gets too hot, so fingers crossed.
Really?
Occasionally the dog walks past and wafts the tail around, and that gives me a bit of fresh air. But that's about it, really.
Wow, okay. Well, I wish you much luck for that one. Interlagos, you said it was a bit of a tricky circuit. That lap right at the end, did you feel like you can do that consistently then?
Yes. I went out with way too much fuel in to start off with, and way too much wing. So we'll drop some wing off, and obviously got fuel pretty high to get through. But yeah, we'll hopefully try and keep low 32s as a race pace.
Looking forward to seeing that one. Chris, congratulations on the third. We wish you luck for the race.
Thank you, guys.
Actually, I'll tell you what, Chris. Is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go? Because we don't do multiple races in this evening, so we'll do it in qualifying instead.
Yeah, Bex, my girlfriend Bex, if she's watching, which Soslow, she was watching last week, and I didn't get on the podium, so she won't be watching this week. So yeah, Bex and all the rest of the BMW guys who are racing out tonight. So
fantastic. Thank you very much, Chris. Good luck for the race.
Cheers, all.
Right, next up is Craig. Craig, a big congratulations on the second place. That pole position's a long way in the distance, isn't it? But you've got 90 minutes now to try and rectify that, and anything can happen in motorsport.
Yeah, obviously I'm waiting for Ollie just to become a black dot in my screen at some point and just look to hold off Mr. Blakey and Adam and the rest of the guys behind. So I'm not going to be looking in my mirrors that much like previous races. So hopefully, like Chris said just now, just focus on my own race pace and aim for consistency. I've done a sort of slightly medium to long run earlier on this evening. So hopefully the pace will be there. But yeah, as for catching Ollie, no chance.
Well, you say that'll bring some confidence for Ollie, unless you're trying to play those mind games. I don't know. Maybe I'll ask him in a second. But speaking of mind games, we just chatted to Chris Blakey. You were here. You were listening to him. He said that he had a couple of tenths in the bag there that he should have pulled off on the last lap. Is that sort of on your mind now that you maybe feel like he's going to be a bit closer than what the time suggests?
Well, obviously, you know, having the lap time is there, but you have to get overtake as well. So hopefully I'll make my Merc as wide as I can into turn one, and hopefully no carnage. But no, it's the first lap I did under the 32s as well, my last flyer, so I'm quite happy with that. On the setup I've gone for a safe setup. I had some quite aggressive ones during the last few evenings just to see what works and what doesn't. So this is a lot more nicer on the curbs, so I've gone with this one. So fingers crossed it's going to be a nice race and incident free. That's all I'm hoping for. It's my last one for a few weeks now. I'm going away, so I'm missing next week and the first two of the Cupras, so I'm hoping I'll have a good result obviously by the time I'm back then.
Well, where are you off to?
Off to Canada to visit.
You're not taking your sim with you?
I've tried convincing the wife, but she said, because I've got the foldable play seat, I've got it all, but she's got, no, we're going to be chilling for 3 weeks, so, which I can't blame her, to be fair.
Yeah, I can't blame her either, to be fair. I would like to go to Canada. Whereabouts in Canada are you going?
Just in BC. My brother-in-law lives out there. He's been out there for about 10 years now, so yeah, we go out there every couple of years just to relax and unwind, bit of R&R. I'm going to miss the sim racing, but it'll be nice to have a bit of a break during the weeks as well, so I'll come back freshly recharged, hopefully.
You reckon you're going to be able to sneak the stream on Wednesday night?
Oh, 100%.
Oh, 100%.
Thing is, an 8-hour delay, so I'm not sure. I'll have to work out the timings, but even if it's like midday out there and then 8 o'clock over here, so yeah, I'll be having a lunchtime stream.
Damn right, that's what we like to hear, Craig. If you can't join them, watch them. That's what I say. Fantastic, Craig. Congratulations on the second place. Is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, my father-in-law Kim, he's just tuned into the stream, and he watches every week without fail. And Leighton as well, he's always whenever he can, he will watch it. So yeah, and obviously everyone watching the stream and all the guys racing tonight. So yeah, good luck to everyone.
Well, if anybody out there who is a association with Craig Curtis as well, if you want to jump on his play seat and jump on the sim for him, then we will let you potentially score points. I'm making that up. I don't know if that's allowed or not. But Craig Curtis, a big thank you for joining us, and good luck for the race.
Thank you, Jack. Appreciate it.
To be fair, I do think we've brought in people before, and they have scored half points actually. But
That's
anyway,
exactly right. Yeah. So they, if a new driver comes in to stand in for somebody, they score half points for that driver.
There we go. There's a space open up on the Cooper grid for everybody. Right, Oliver Gibson, you are on pole position. You are on pole position by about 0.8 of a second, and by the sounds of it, no one's very confident on catching you. Are you confident that you can do that lap in, lap out?
Well, I hope so. Yeah, I mean, you never know. I'm on the outside for this turn one. Obviously that means inside for the second corner. So as long as I can get a good start, I think I'll just head down and carry on. It's a long race. I've raced here before quite a few times. It's probably a top 3 track for me. I really love this track. Wow. Yeah, I love this track. So yeah, it's a pleasure to drive as always, and it's my first race here since, I don't know, 2022, so it's nice to be back.
I was going to say, that's quite a long time for you just to pick it straight back up and get racing. We've got like 2 or 3 minutes for this interview. I do want to touch on the BMW 135M Cup, which I'm sure you probably don't really want to talk about, but you didn't really have the best evening at Silverstone, did you? But you had a very strong championship in total. So do you still feel like the momentum didn't get stunted? Do you feel like you still progressed as a driver?
Yeah, I think the whole series really, the BMW last series was a good improvement for me, because the previous, that's my first top 3, so I know I could have I had a chance to win it, and obviously I had an even better chance to finish second, but finished third in the end. So obviously that was a bit disappointing, and the round itself was just rubbish from me. So but it's nice to get into the top 3, and then once you come here as well, and be on the pace again. It's nice, and it's a good confidence boost. So
you should be confident, mate, because you've really improved, especially through the last championship. So well done.
Thank you very much. From the man himself.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's a lot of praise, but hopefully it's enough praise. But yeah.
But I mean, Oliver, you've obviously got an opportunity tonight as well to jump up this championship, and we're really excited to see you sort of push through. The Cooper is next up. I mean, is there plenty of practice? Is there plans going into that one? Have you already downloaded the car?
I don't have the car actually, not yet. I think that one, I'd sort of treated the BMW, the last one, as like a proper. I'm gonna try and do my best and try and win, and then I think this next one I'm I'm a bit tired of just going on flying around for 100 laps for a race. I think I might just chill out and just have a bit of fun with it. And if I am fast, then I'll treat it again seriously. But it's a front-wheel drive car, and that is nowhere near anything that I've driven before. So.
Well, I'm trying to persuade Rich to do Ginetta the one after that.
Oh.
So yeah, exactly. See, that's the
Yes.
one I always make.
He's already persuaded me. I mean, that's a bit of a bombshell for anybody that's here now. But yeah, I think we'll do a Ginetta Super Cup next.
Woohoo! There we go.
Yes.
Glad I'm finished commentating, because now I can actually race in it. Right, Oliver Gibson, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, I mean, everyone in the Hop Cavern, Sherburn Rubber, Brian, Hoppy Lee, who's in the Hop Cavern. And so basically,
What
Jack
is the Hop Cavern?
Oh, it's a beer shop. Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, so come up to Howden if you're down south, but come up to Howden and go in the Hop Caverns. A few pints, lovely jubbly. But also, I've just had a cough in my ear. That's because Jack is at home. That's why he's not racing tonight.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's at home, and he is basically my Bono for tonight.
He didn't bully you off the sim then?
No,
He didn't call the
no.
Big Brother rights or anything?
No, he's doing my strategy, and he's helped set the car up and stuff like that. So he's in my ear. He's just coughed. But yeah, it's quite cool actually. I used to when I used to do F1 racing, we used to sort of help out. Not with Jack. Jack didn't do it when I was doing it, but within the sort of group that we had, we'd do it. So it's sort of like a blast of the past really. But shout out to Jack for doing that, because I know it's probably not the most exciting thing in the world.
Well, no, fair play. I bet he's probably getting withdrawal symptoms. As soon as the checkered flag, as soon as the green flag goes, he'll probably be jealous all of a sudden. But big congratulations on the pole position, Oliver, and I'm sure we'll probably be speaking to you a little bit later.
Hope so. Cheers.
So I've got a couple of bits of info before we jump over to you. So Adam Lyle, who qualified, I think it was 4th or 5th, I think he qualified, is not well. So basically he's felt faint during qualifying. That is how hot it is, and he's had to pull out the race.
Oh, that's a shame, isn't it? So no one, we're not going to move up a position, are we? Or anything
No,
like that?
the grid slot stays empty. So yes, unfortunately we've lost Adam. So I hope you feel better, Adam. I'm sure you're probably watching right now. So get some rest, mate, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, no, for sure. Hopefully it cools down next week, because I think that everybody, we've taken a particularly hot day to do an endurance event. But with only about 15 seconds left to go before the lights start to go on our screen, we can look a little. We've spoken to the top 3, but we've also got Brad Smith and Joel Lask, Andy Carroll, Lee Piercy, Johnny Ogden, and Josh Martin inside the top 10 now. In fact, you can see them on the left-hand side of your screen. The lights will come on. Those lights in front of you don't really count for anything. They will pop up on our screen like normal, and then we will start to get excited for the actual countdown of this race. And in fact, they are popping up on our screen now. Some drivers towards the rear end of the field, Darren Butler and the likes. But as the lights come on, the engine notes are rising as well. And that means here at Interlagos, we are racing with Oliver Gibson getting a pretty decent start. Craig Curtis not quite close enough to be able to make any kind of move. In fact, no, he is. There's a very wide circuit here in Interlagos. Oliver Gibson uses all of the circuit to his advantage and doesn't really have to worry too much. But there was a slow start towards that mid-pack. Didn't quite see who it was. Chris Blakey's under fire from Brad Smith, and I think Brad Smith is in the BMW, isn't he? So actually, Brad's got. No, he's still.
That's Chris Blakey in the BMW.
Blakey in third place. Yes, the BMW. So yeah, my apologies. Brad Smith is in 4th in the Mercedes and is about to be attacked by Thomas Potter, who's had a bit of a flying start. And in fact, further back is that battle going on right now. We currently watch Craig Curtis. Thomas Potter versus Brad Smith is still heating up side by side, just in the background of this shot. Who's going to come out on top? It looks like it's going to be Joel Lask as Thomas Potter now. Sorry, Brad Smith. Thomas Potter has now dropped behind Joel Lask. You can tell that I'm unfamiliar with these liveries at the start of this race. We keep coming back to these cars, but it takes a lap or two to get back used to it. The driver who's dropped well back, I'm not entirely sure who it was, unfortunately. John Jones has done a pretty solid effort, though. He's up to 8th place, and normally we don't really talk about John Jones unless it's the reverse grid. Scott, it's quite nice to see John really take to this GT3.
Absolutely, yeah. I've raced against John a few times, and he loves it. Generally, we always have a laugh with him on a Monday night and after a race, and it just goes to show, like you said, certain people, are better with different cars and different series, and it's like John's really getting involved here and getting stuck in, which is what we like to see.
He is getting stuck in, but so is Josh Martin. In the battle of the Lamborghinis, John Jones has been forced out wide. Josh Martin goes through, and looks like he's got a really nice run, actually, as John didn't really fight him too much going through the first couple of corners. Josh has got an absolutely sublime run, and he could end up taking 2 cars in the space of 3 corners. He has to go around the long way of Paul Laramie. Late on the brakes, Paul tried to squeeze him. I think Josh is going to carry really good momentum. He stays just within the white line and on the curb, and he's going to have the position done and dusted. I think as they get into the double right-hander, he is going to have it done and dusted, actually, as John Jones fights off Lee Piercy for the time being. That was the fight that was sort of replicating the one in front of them. These 4 cars, probably the closest battle that we've got out on circuit, as we see Lee Piercy run particularly wide. Speaking of close battles, I was very much incorrect, because Chris Blakey has pulled up to the back of Craig Curtis. We suspected, and so did the drivers, that Oliver Gibson would pull away, and that has come true pretty much instantly. So it's going to be a little bit of a battle for second place. But really, Scott, what do you do here as a driver? If you're Chris Blakey, do you settle in for the long run, or do you go for that position?
I think it depends if this is a genuine Chris Blakey pace and he can keep up with it, then go for it like he's doing as we speak. But I wouldn't battle too much, because then you cause a risk of damaging tyres, overheating your tyres and brakes. So then you end up dropping back, and then you kind of into the mid, battering the mid-pack, and that's not really what you want. You just want to get a nice clean run now. If it was me personally, I'd try and have a go for a couple of laps, and if it doesn't work, I'd settle in and just play the long game. Like we said, it's an hour and a half race, but by the looks of it, Chris, like you've had a little bit of contact there. Oh dear.
Big amount of contact.
Yes,
in the
big.
end.
So not what Arsenal's done, if I could help it. That's not playing the long game. That's yeah, it's a shame. I think it's a bit of a squeeze on the grass from what I could see, but it was okay. Like I said, it's a long race, and who knows.
One of the first things you need to learn about commentary is don't commit yourself on incidents. Always say, we'll have a look at the replay on that one.
Well,
that,
you know,
works when we have a replay to go to.
Well,
I often just don't worry about it, Scott. I just throw my hat into the ring as well and give my opinion straight away. I don't in real life, but I tend to in these sim races. Might as well anyway. But yeah, it is. I mean, that was a bit of a. It did look like maybe a bit of a squeeze onto the outside and squeezing Craig, but then equally maybe Craig wasn't quite. Maybe he should have backed out a bit. There's plenty of ways that you could look at that incident, and I'm sure they will look at that incident on Monday night. Rich always has fun dissecting each and every accident and giving out rulings, and everything has to listen to them. So it's an interesting one, but I'm glad I don't have to be in that room. So Brad Smith is elevated himself up into second position with Joel Lask now into third, and who is going to go through the first corner in fourth? It is Craig Curtis recovering and overtaking Thomas Potter. It was a late dive, so he's not going to get any kind of run. But all of a sudden, Mercedes running 2, 3, 4, and 5. In fact, before you get to another BMW all the way down to 6th place. So
is that a gaggle of Mercedes? Is that a gaggle? Yeah, okay. I wondered what we'll call it.
Yes, no, gaggle for sure. But everybody in the YouTube and in the Discord and everything like that was a little bit worried that maybe the BMWs were a little bit overpowered. And after seeing Oliver Gibson's pace, you would probably understand why that concern was raised. But now they're first and sixth, so it's one of those things where maybe they're a little bit more even, and maybe it's just Oliver Gibson who's really pulled out all the stops. Scott, whenever you have to do, sorry, actually no, I'll bring it to Rich first. Whenever you see mid-championship, there is a bit of a disparity between the pace of certain cars. It's a multi-car championship. Is it one of those things where you're constantly fighting the urge to keep making tweaks through it? Because really, you want to make the least amount of tweaks as possible, don't you?
Yeah, the more tweaks you make, the further down the rabbit hole you go. So I try to make as few adjustments as possible. The handling of the BMW is pretty much on par with the other cars. It rides the curbs, the bigger curbs, a little bit better. But the one thing that it had was just much more top end. So you were looking at about 6 or 7 miles an hour faster down the straights. So we added a multi-stage restrictor to the engine on it. We started at 5% and then just gradually have built it up to 15% restrictor.
Thomas Potter has got past Craig Curtis towards the rear end of this little gaggle before turning around and facing the wrong way, unfortunately, out of the second apex. Not entirely sure what happened there, whether there was contact or whether there was just a little bit too much greed on the power button, a power pedal, I should say. I'm not entirely sure because we didn't quite see it, but unfortunately after going for a move on Joel Lask, wasn't it actually? No, it wasn't, it was Craig Curtis. It ended up, obviously, Thomas Potter falling off. And that's the way these endurance events can go. We'll get Skull as he's turned around again, or turning around again, I should say, as there was another driver falling off the road. I'm not sure who it was. Was it Johnny Ogden who's gone wide and now is overtaking Thomas Potter? I don't know. I think I saw a flash of yellow out the left-hand side of the screen, but I'm not entirely sure. Let's see if I can find it and watch a little bit of a replay on the YouTube stream. I'm just let it catch up a second. But we are seeing a couple of people, Sam Milner getting overtaken by Andy Carroll. Andy Carroll, you raced with a lot, Scott Bubner, but he's not really been showing that he's particularly quick in these GT3s, unfortunately.
No, I did speak to him, just wished him good luck before, about an hour before we started, and again, he said the same thing as Joel. He's gone from, I think he said 8 kilos up to 31, I think he said.
Oh, wow.
Which is, it's a big jump, you know, it's a very big jump. And he also said that he wasn't too sure how the Lambo was going to be compared to the BMWs and the Mercedes. But like I keep saying, like it's a long race. You know, people are going to drop off and pit and different things, and it can always work out. Sometimes just to play that long game. You know, he's sat now in in 13th, but at the end of the day, if he keeps doing what he's doing and keeps the tyres in the right window, he can pick his way through. He's a very good driver, a very, very consistent driver.
Yeah, speaking of picking their way through, Thomas Potter is attempting to do that on Johnny Ogden, isn't he? Who doesn't seem to be able to repeat his heroics of a couple of weeks ago, well, about 10 weeks ago, I should say, actually, as Potter not afraid of going for the overtakes. This is where he had a little bit of a spin before. I still haven't been able to see the spin, as he's closing the gap, leaves just enough room for Johnny Ogden's nose. That's good racing, I would say. I mean, a good awareness, especially from Thomas Potter, knowing that Ogden was going to try and make it, and although Ogden probably didn't have the right of way, shall we say, it's still better not to crash and make the overtake clean and just sort of suck it up and carry on with the race for the next hour and 20 minutes than 40 way across and then claim about it in the steward's room. So yeah, Thomas Potter allowing a little bit of space and carrying on. When you're racing someone this young, Scott, obviously I'm not going to say what the age discrepancy is, but there is a bit of an age gap, isn't there, between the likes of you and some of our younger drivers like Thomas Potter. Does that come into your mind at all when you actually race them out on track?
You're trying to make me feel old because I actually found a grey hair in my beard the other day, so you've just killed the deal. Yeah, obviously, because at the end of the day, everyone drives differently, and especially with someone like Thomas who does a lot of karting, he's coming from that background, same as me and same as Joel. Everyone drives differently. I always say karting's like the school of hard knocks. You know, you always, you know, you're close all the time, and it's just there we go, a little bit of contact there going into turn one. But what I was saying, it's just learning the drivers. It's having the faith to be able to go side by side. And as we saw on that last lap where Johnny Ogden and Thomas Potter went side by side, Thomas left him just enough room, car's width, which is perfect. You don't need to give any more, any less than that. It's just enough. Keep it close, and there's no contact, which is the best way to do it.
Yeah, no, it's always the best way of doing it. As Chris Blakey is now caught up to this sort of gaggle. Are we still calling it a gaggle? There's only two of them now, isn't there? These Mercedes.
One's a BMW.
It's a couple. No, I'm saying the BMW is catching up.
Oh, sorry.
Joel Lask is the first on it with the target on his back. Chris has clearly got some pace behind him. I mean, in terms of tracks, we haven't done Interlagos that often, but there's plenty of overtaking places. Rich, why haven't we done it?
There is no reason other than there are a lot of tracks out there, and it's just one that we've not really got round to. I guess. Excuse me, so 1 second. So sorry, I just had to cough there for a second. So I guess it's more of a GT track than a touring car or a front wheel drive track. And there's so many good GT tracks around the world that it's just not one we got to. And actually, I think the other reason was earlier on in the championships, the version of Interlagos wasn't a particularly good one. This new version of the track is extremely good, so it allowed us to be able to use it.
Okay, right, because we've got a long race on our hands now,
yes,
and you're in the comments box as Scott is, we can sort of talk about a few more things that we normally talk about.
I've got a good one.
Well, I will get to that one in a second now. But the first one is when we talk about, for the average person out there who might not know because they are friends and family or something like that, when you say a version of the track,
yes,
a lot of people would assume that when someone buys the game, that the track is included in the game because that's the way it used to be in the good old days of racing, of game buying. Yeah. But now it's completely different, isn't it? When you say a version of the track, what do you mean?
So the software that we use is Assetto Corsa. In my opinion and many other professional racing drivers' opinions, that it's the most accurate representation for the best bang for your buck. So we're not talking about software that's being used in professional simulators and Formula 1 teams and things like that, but for your home use, AC is probably the best one to use with regards to your choice of cars, your choice of tracks, how the cars drive.
Yeah, I'm going to let you. Sorry, Rich. I'm going to let you carry on in a second, but just seeing the BMW pull up alongside Joel Lask, and since there's a fight for the potential podium, we'll focus on this for the next 2 corners or so before they basically stop falling over each other. I am interested in the sort of rest of the explanation, and I know that there are a lot of people that out there that
be screaming
do
at
tune in, but it's fine. Chris Blakey tried to go around the outside into turn 1, didn't happen. Now trying to go around the outside into turn 3, also didn't happen. Joel Lask is placing his car exactly where he needs to either hold Chris Blakey up or get hit. Those are the 2 options that Chris has sort of been offered, but he's offered up the inside. No, he's not quite yet. It's starting to spark up this little battle as we were sort of waiting for it to ignite. I feel like it's going to take another half a lap or so before we see any kind of lunges. So, Rich, I tell you what, let's carry on with that explanation, and I won't interrupt you this.
No, it's fine. So the good thing about Assetto Corsa is the choice of cars and the tracks is huge. Where you are in a lot of the other pieces of sim software, you are limited to what you get with regards to what you get with the software. But there is a huge, what we call modders community out there, and these guys basically create cars and create tracks from scratch for Assetto Corsa. So you could have, which it's alchemy, it's magical. So so you've got some really talented people out there that literally, these cars that we're looking at are produced by a company where you can buy them from. They didn't come standard with the software, and this track doesn't come standard with the software as well. So these are things that people have produced from scratch, and we just feel that Assetto.
Oh, sorry, you did well actually to stop there, Rich, because that could have been an exciting move for Joel last, but he couldn't quite get on the power early enough. He saw a gap, he went for it. There wasn't enough space to try and run his car all the way out, so it does look like Chris Blakey is probably going to survive for this lap at least. So modders are brilliant in racing. Well, not just racing, but obviously gaming in general on the PC. And it's something you don't get with the Xbox or PlayStation either, is it? That's why we don't on PC.
Absolutely, yeah. So the PC version is a much better representation of the physics of the cars. A PC can do many more calculations and multitask much better than what a console can do. Consoles are, I'm going to play a game or play some video, and so they are manufactured to get the best out of doing just that. PCs are an all-rounder, and you need an all-rounder to show the graphics that we're looking at now on the screen, but also to have the amount of computational power to produce replicate the physics of the cars as they would be in real life. So that's why we use AC. Different versions of the tracks are basically whether a modder is good or really good. I'm not going to say bad because all modders are good, but this version of Interlagos is a newer version, which is a much better version for us to use.
Yes, I will carry on that sort of conversation, but just to reply to Catherine Potter in the YouTube chat, unfortunately Adam Lyle, who I'm guessing you're talking about, felt ill after qualifying and decided not to take part. A little bit too hard, felt a little bit faint, and decided not to take part in the actual race, which is a shame, but we're hoping he's back next week.
He said hello in the chat, so we know he's still alive.
Yes, exactly, and I'm sure Thomas can to send him a message once he's done with the racing and make sure he is all good. But, we wish you the best, Adam, and hopefully you're enjoying the stream so far. Right, a couple of questions to ask you, Scott, in regards to stuff I've actually spoken to Rich about. Firstly, I'm going to touch on the sort of modifications that we've been talking about in terms of BMW and giving them a 15% power restrict, basically. How we've sort of gotten the perspective of Rich as saying that it needed to happen, and you want to do it the least amount of times possible, and to be the least annoying sort of race director, basically, in slowing people down. How annoying is it when he actually does make those kind of adjustments to a car that you're actually racing?
To be honest with you, I haven't actually chosen. I'm always bad at choices, so I never pick a car that's actually really good and needs to be bought. But from what I can, if I was sat in the car right now, I mean, if I was all up a Gibson, I wouldn't mind at all. I'd be like, yeah, fine, you can knock another 15% on if you want. But yeah, I mean, it must be frustrating to know that you've got a car that it feels good, it's underneath you, and you know you've got good pace in it. I mean, some people it might sort of just turn their heads and it might just knock their confidence slightly. But as you can see from Oliver Gibson, he's doing a perfect job at the minute. He's 20 odd seconds in front. He's just, it's a Sunday drive for him, isn't it? I bet he's not even broken a bead of sweat yet. But no, I actually think it is quite frustrating, but at the end of the day, we need these championships to be as close as we can. You know, for us guys who are watching, even for the guys that are involved in the driving, it's the adrenaline that we get from it, and that's why we do it, and it's all part of the fun and games, isn't it?
I was going to say, it's just part of the overall package that you sign up for, isn't it, as well? I mean, it's very annoying when I've been involved with actual championships, and not necessarily racing them, but I've been involved in real-life championships where they adjust these things on entertainment value, not based on sort of racing respect or anything to do with actually, to make it closer racing from a driving perspective or anything like that. It's just the fact that a driver is too good, so they restrict them down just because that one individual driver is too good, and then the rest of the field who are driving the same car get restricted all the way down as well, just because they want to make it a good show. Chris Blakey is about to get past Brad Smith, though, regardless of the 15% reduction in power, mainly because Brad Smith screwed up that final corner, and, well, it's allowed the BMW just to coast on past. So Oliver Gibson and Brad Smith are now first and second. That's BMW 1-2. Big lunge as a reply from Brad Smith, though, and you'd love to see that, Scott.
That's exactly what we're here for. It's a very good, clean move, and he sort of caught Chris napping there. Chris probably thought he had the move done down the straight, but a big shout out to Chris, because it's easy to lose your head, especially when you whether there was contact or not there. But with the incident with Craig Curtis, but at the end of the day, he hasn't lost his head. He's showing very good pace. He's pulled away from Joel. He's caught Brad. He's putting Brad under pressure, and I just think he's got a very clear head on him at the minute, and you can tell he's got very good pace.
Well, normally, I mean, the best drivers in the world can just shake it off within, a quarter or two, can't they, those sort of incidents? Obviously, when it means more money and things like that in F1, tempers raise even higher. But, we've had 20 minutes since that incident. My goodness, Chris Blakey. Just going to show that Brad Smith, his mistake on the previous lap is not because he's a bad driver, but because these cars are quite difficult to handle sometimes, and they've got quite a loud pedal, shall we say. It's very easy to make these sort of mistakes, Scott, isn't it, when they've got this much power?
I've never actually been involved in a commentator's curse, and I thought I was just about to have my first one. Yeah, it is very easy. I don't know, obviously I haven't driven this type of car in this championship, so I don't know if they have TC on or off, but yeah, especially when we had the cars previously in a previous championship, it was very lively, and just that slight little bit too much throttle and the car just wants to snap. But again, that's what we do it for. It's realistic. It's how it is in real life, and when you watch your British GTs and World GTs and stuff like that, it's full on. The drivers are working the cars really hard, and like I said, it's a really good championship to be in, and I'm enjoying being here and commentating on it.
I don't know how much, just to go on for the modding stuff that we were talking about before, Scott, obviously we spoke to Rich about how it sort of works and how we can have such a variety of track where it's not necessarily on the game, which surprises a lot of people when they actually buy a Assetto Corsa, because if anybody goes onto the Steam store now, Assetto Corsa is actually quite cheap, and you think, well, how on earth can we do all this? It's because of mods, and it's not the easiest software to actually get to grips with, isn't it? But that is another reason why VRRC, from a user perspective and a community perspective, is so good, isn't it? Because we've got plenty of people like yourself who will be more than happy to get involved and help people who are a little bit more questionable about it.
Well, never ask me for help, and Rich will back me up on this at least once in the championship. Yeah, I'm going, Rich, I don't know what I'm doing. And trust me, the amount of phone calls and text messages that I send to Joel throughout the month is crazy. Joel, this car won't download. What are we doing wrong? You're doing this wrong, Scott. But the people are great. The guys are great here, and it was actually, I can't remember who. I think it was actually Dan Delos who got me involved in this championship a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, and it's been great. And there's not one bad word said about it. And like I said, if you need any help, there is always someone out there that will help. And like I said, Rich is always the first person to welcome new guys in, and and you make friends, and that's the best bit about it, is you're on friends off the track and on the track, and we're meeting up and people are meeting up, and that's what it's all about.
I was going to say, there are some drivers that have been here long enough now, haven't they? I've been doing this for 3 years, and I'm still saying the same names, and it's about half the grid that are the same names that say 20 years ago. It's ridiculous, really. But
in a
yeah,
good
I
way.
mean, Dan Delos, that's been a Clio Cup driver, wasn't he? I think. Oh, contact with Chris Blakey and with Brad Smith. I was going to start talking about this eventually, but it's starting to get a little bit feisty with people again lunging into the first corner. I mean, from a driver's perspective, Scott, you're probably thinking, if you're Brad Smith, you hold Chris Blakey up and allow Joel Last to get back involved, or do you just try and not even think about that and just try and settle the debate yourself?
Oh no, never help Joel out. Keep going. No, absolutely, yeah. Obviously, I should think that the Phoenix guys are in a chat, and I should think Joel's screaming at Brad at the minute saying, keep going, I'm coming. But you know, the thing is with Chris, he just can't lose your head, and it's probably very frustrating because of how quickly he's caught Brad up. We know Chris has got the face on Brad, but Brad's doing a fantastic job. He's putting the car where he needs to be, and he's putting on a race for us, which is great.
He is indeed, yeah. Chris Blakey, again, got the overspeed. BMW is still fast in a straight line. He's thrown the outside fake, gone to the inside, forced or crowbarred his way through. But it's still not going to quite be enough without hitting him. And Chris Blakey, I don't think, to be fair, he was really making the apex. He looked like he'd outbroken himself. It was an awesome attempt at a move, but it didn't quite stick the landing as Brad Smith and Joel Lask hold on to second and third place. But this time, they've got another recovering driver now chasing them down. It's Craig Curtis. How many of these are they going to just fend off over the course of the next hour and 5 minutes? They've already had to do it 2 or 3 times. But Chris Blakey ends up in 5th place, but only about 2.5 seconds back. It's a long race, as we keep mentioning. I'm sure he'll be back with a vengeance as long as there's not any contact being made. It's going to be... Actually, that's a good point. I never really actually asked about this. What is the damage model like on these rigs? I mean, if you do end up making a little bit of contact, like what we just saw there or anything like that, I always think the VRRC, the damage model is actually quite hardy. The cars are quite tough.
Yeah, they are quite tough in this, actually. We did a lot of testing on side-to-side driving. Obviously, depends on where the centre of gravity is on each car, as to where you may have contact and where the centre of gravity is, and obviously what pendulum effect you get from that within the car. But yeah, they're pretty sturdy.
Yeah, and which is always nice to see, because you don't want just the odd... I think it's, Scott, I don't know how much iRacing you've ever done, but whenever I've done it, you may well breathe on the front end of an MX-5, and all of a sudden you get front-end damage, and you're down 30 miles an hour on a straight, which is ridiculous, especially around somewhere like Sao Paulo, actually. That's one of the reasons I stopped playing it. But it's quite nice that those sort of little incidents, you do have the option of having that recovery time. Yeah,
absolutely. I haven't done a lot of iRacing, if I'm being honest with you. I mean, I don't remember the last time I played it. But yeah, the crash physics on that are definitely very sensitive, very sensitive. But this is what I like about, you know, Assetto Corsa, and that's a great move there by the Lamborghini. But yeah, it's good. You know, you're gonna have contact. Whatever, when you're in the mid pack and you're battling away, you're gonna have door to door. You bang wing mirrors and bang wheels, and in real life you get that, and it doesn't tend to damage, you know, your car too much. You might knock the tracking out slightly, but that's what I like about this is, you know, you can have that, and you know, it doesn't just, you know, screw up your race straight away. You can carry on and maybe give them an argy-bargy one back when you catch them back up again, which is, again, it's all about the excitement.
All about the excitement, nothing about the penalties.
No.
Speaking of which, I mean, Rich is always very glowing about his Monday nights and everything like that. What is it like to be part and on the receiving end of a Rich Hayden rulebook throwing?
Well, I can't lie, Jack. For the BMW's the last session, I actually wasn't in the stewards once, so I've been a good boy. I kept my nose clean.
Well done.
It's a first. No. We all make mistakes, you know, and we all, at that point when you're following a car and you want to go for a move and you go for it, and then you know that split second, I'm not going to make it. Yeah. We've all done it. We have all done it. I've done it in real life. I've done it on Sims. You have to hold your hands up and say, yeah, fair enough. And if you've got a point, Rich is, you know, as much as he likes to give you a slap on the wrist you know, when you've done something wrong, he'll listen to you. If you've got you know, your own opinion on it, he'll listen to you, and if he agrees, he might relook at it, and if he doesn't agree, he'll shut you down and say, no, that is it. Which is, again, just like real life. It's how it is. You can't go argue with clerk of the courses and race directors in real life, because they'll just say, see ya. So no, it is. This is why I still race it. It's so realistic, and that's why we do it. You know, motor racing in real life is very, very expensive. So why not come and pretty much do real life racing just on the sim, but still have the same penalties applied, and you know, points deductions and slap wrist.
Yeah, well, I think it's a very good explanation, and I think you'll probably find your 20 quid slid under the door from Rich. Craig Curtis, but you're not wrong, to be fair, Scott. I wasn't saying that as if you were wrong. It's just it is a glowing recommendation for anybody out there who wants to get involved with VRRC, which is great to hear. And you have been around long enough, as Joel has been, and a few other people that you've been involved with. We mentioned Calendar, like as I said, for a long enough time to know the ins and outs of VRRC like the back of your hand, which is why it's so great to have you in the comms box. Craig Curtis is going and lining up a move on Joel Lask. We've been talking about the slipstream. Chris Blakey's actually in the background as well. But Craig Curtis around the outside. Chris and Craig are certainly giving us the entertainment factor this evening. And that could be the move of the day for Craig Curtis. He's maybe not quite got it pulled off just yet as Joel Lask fights back, bites the bullet and takes the apex away from him. But here comes Chris Blakey, who may well go the inside of all three. Joel Lask moves across. There could be a space in the middle. Chris Blakey can't find his way through. I thought he was going to try and side his way through, but in the middle, didn't quite come off just yet. Joel Lask moving a couple of times on the straights there. I think a little bit cheeky of him. But Chris Blakey gets past Craig Curtis after he couldn't make the move stick. Can Chris go for the inside dive? No, he's going to actually be forced wide. And that could open the door back up for Craig Curtis. Not quite yet. This is exactly what we were hoping to see. Rich, I feel like you were holding your breath and making your notes for Monday night already going into that one.
Yes, I was had my beady eye on it, but no, it's all good. All good. Everybody's looking at it. There were a couple of moves there, but I wouldn't have said it was anything dirty.
What do you reckon on the moving on the straight, Scott? What of Joel there? I think, to be fair, he may well have only moved once.
Kick him out. No, I'm joking. It was good, and I think the best bit about that is I had my eye on Chris Blakey there, and good on him. He could have, bump drafted a car there or given him a little tap, and as you saw, he backed out of that. Great racing, and that's exactly my point proven.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was worried about watching him as he was gaining on them. I thought, is he going to stick it in between the two of them? But no, he was sensible. Oh.
Decided to cut the nose off there, didn't he?
Of
Joel Lask. I mean, he'll say it was judged perfectly. I think it was slightly lucky as Joel Lask gives him a little bit of a nudge through the second apex and down onto the second straight. It's not really the back straight, is it? But I suppose there is only two straights in this circuit. It was Chris Blakey touches the grass. Is that going to slow him up enough? No, it's the battle of the Mercedes going into turn 4. It's not turn 3. I've forgotten earlier on that there's that left turn is turn 3. But turn 4, it looks like that Joel is going to keep that position. But Chris Blakey has finally got through, and we could see him reignite that battle between himself and Ben Smith. They got 4 seconds to gain, but with an hour to go, you would expect if Craig can get through on Joel, and Chris already has, they're going to start catching up. They've clearly got some decent pace behind them, the drivers who qualified 2nd and 3rd. Scott, it's always a bit frustrating though when you can't quite make the moves stick on circuit.
No, absolutely, but Chris has definitely got a bit between his teeth tonight. He's fired up, and he's putting on a really good show for us, and all the guys watching. It's been great. He's had. You know what? Not in a horrible way. I've lost count how many times he's been facing the wrong way. Is it 2, 3 times? He's come straight back up, and like I said, he's kept his head, and he's clean overtakes. And Joel's put on a good. I don't like to pick him up too much, but he's put on a good, good defensive move. Even with the weight that he's carrying at the minute, he's still breaking it around about the same point as the other guys. As we go up to turn 1 in a minute, it looks like Craig Curtis is going to have a go. I thought he was going to try and squeeze him to the pit wall there. He nearly did, but the move around the outside for Craig on that last lap was phenomenal. They both gave each other room and no contact.
Yeah, it would have been interesting. I'm sort of looking at that Craig Curtis. He was forcing Joel onto the inside, and then as soon as he jinked back out right, Joel went to the middle of the circuit. I would like him maybe to throw that fake and then drive him up there, drop it up the inside. But the problem is you may well end up making contact like Chris Blakey did and missing the apex. So it's always a bit of a risk, isn't there? A high risk, high reward. But the longer he stays behind Joel, the worse it's going to be, because really these two have been fighting for about 2 or 3 laps. In that time, Chris has caught up about 2 seconds, overtaken both of them within a lap and a half, and pulled off into the distance. So this is very, very frustrating for any Craig Curtis fans out there. There's a lot of fans for Stu Henderson in the YouTube chat, actually. And I've sort of looked back at it. Oliver Ruggles saying, come on, Stu. And I'm pretty sure there was somebody out there who was saying good luck to their dad, Stu, as well. I can't see anyone, so I don't know if it was been removed. But Stu Henderson, anyway, getting a little bit of love in the YouTube chat, which is what we like to see. Maybe we'll get him on screen in a bit, but I'm sure you can understand that we have to really focus on the battle towards the front end of the circuit. In terms of their lap times, 1:31.6 is the best lap for Oliver Gibson. 1:33.1, the best lap for Brad Smith. So, I mean, Oliver Gibson's already pulled away. I've just actually had a look for the first time this race. The gap is 40 seconds, Scott. I mean, that is just ridiculous, isn't it? And we've only raced for half an hour, as we now do look at Stu Henderson. It's a nice looking car, actually, to be fair, with Darren Butler behind, but he needs to stay on the circuit if he's going to catch up to John Jones. But 40 seconds is actually the biggest margin we've got out there, and it's just from Oliver Gibson just putting lap after lap in. Even on the previous lap, he was 1.7 seconds quicker than Brad Smith, who doesn't have anybody to fight against.
Yeah, like I said, it's all about the consistency. He's not had to battle with anyone. You know, the guys in second, third, fourth, and fifth have been door to door pretty much for this half an hour, and that's exactly what Oliver needed. I mean, to be fair, Oliver's had the pace. You can tell even in qualifying, he said he loves this circuit, and you can really tell he's driving very, very well. And I mean, 40 seconds in. What are we, 34 minutes is that's some going, that is.
It's pretty decent, isn't it? And in fact, it's actually half a lap, basically. I mean, it's 1 minute 30 laps, so it's nearly half a lap. But he was actually just overtaking Sam Walton, who jumped into the pits. There we go, actually. I was about to venture. Sam Walton jumped into the pits. Now, Rich, I'm embarrassed to say, I always forget this, but what is the pit strategy? What are we expecting here? Because the cars can't be fuel full, can they? So they have to be made to be making pit stop.
So it's a compulsory pit stop. The drivers have to either change tyres or add fuel. They can do both, but they must do one of them. There's only one.
Is there a time advantage?
Is there a what? Sorry.
Is there a time advantage to just say splash and dash the fuel?
Yeah.
Brad Smith goes round. He hits the sausage curb on the second apex. We'll find out more about the strategies potentially open to the drivers, but he's going to drop down into 5th place as Chris Blakey, Joel Lask and Craig Curtis all get through on the BMW driver. And, well, Chris has finally got his 2nd place that he's been so craving since that last lap in qualifying went away from him. But now he's got it, he can pull through. Craig Curtis really needs to now find a way through not only the traffic, but also Joel Lask. If he has any chance at trying to get the 2nd step of the podium on the track, it's going to be a little bit of a fight. I was looking forward to that one. That's a bit of a shame, to be honest, with Brad Smith and Chris Blakey reigniting. But Chris has now got a long way to go to catch up to Oliver Gibson. That's probably not going to happen. So we'll rejoin our conversation about the potential strategies. Rich, carry on.
Yes, so it takes about 10 seconds to change the tyres. The fuel obviously depends on how much you're putting in. If you want to get in and out of the pits in 10 seconds and add fuel, I think it's about 15 litres you can add in 10 seconds. So you could get a free top-up of fuel with a tyre change if you're adding... Oops.
Oh, Joel Lask now goes off the circuit and ruins yet another potential battle. These Mercedes just falling off left, right and centre.
I'll find another one. I'll find another battle.
So yeah, I mean, 15 litres. Not really sure how far that.
Not far at all. No, not far at all. Okay. So, I mean, look, I would probably go with fill the tank at the start, and then that gives you a less time in the pits adding fuel. So over fuel. And then, you know, you may be coming to the pits when your tyres have gone, but still have maybe 30 litres in the tank or 20 litres in the tank. I would just then top it up from there. That gives you the minimal amount of time in the pits, but also gives you a lower fuel load lower fuel load midway through the race when your tyres are starting to go off as well.
Yeah, and but if you do that, then you won't be swapping your tyres either. So
True, yeah.
You could end up with a lot of tyre degradation. Come the end of the race, and it'll be a bit difficult, as we've seen a fair few drivers have a little bit of difficulties. We just listened to a few of the options there. Scott, do you have any idea what you would sort of preferentially do in terms of are you a driver who wants to have those fresh tyres on at all times and just go for it as hard as you can, or would you look to try and play that longer?
You put me on the spot here.
That's what we do in commentary.
I think it just varies on different circuits as well, to be honest with you. Obviously, but personally for me, I would, without bigging myself too much, I think I'm quite good on my tyres. So I'd probably try and make them last, personally. But yeah, with this sort of track, I remember it, well, I don't know if it's the same, but especially on the F1 games back in the day, it was really hard on tyres. So as you can see from the Mercedes guys, maybe they've just got their tyres a bit too hard from all of the door-to-door battling they've had, and they've just started to kind of go off and see their better days.
Don't worry about bigging yourself up with the amount of times I get abuse from Andy and Rich over the years. I've decided to stick up for myself as well, so don't worry about that whatsoever. Yeah, it is interesting. We'll probably see drivers start to come in for scheduled pit stops. I imagine about 45 minutes to go, Rich?
No, there's people coming in already, so we've had them coming in for the last 10 minutes. I think 2 or 3 drivers have stopped. I would expect halfway through, to be honest with you. Andy Carroll normally likes to do something a little bit different.
Yeah,
so, yeah, he does. So let's see what he does. But yeah,
is there a window for pits?
No, it's literally the window opens from minute 1 and closes on minute 89.
Right, so you could, for instance, do everything all up until the penultimate lap and then pit in.
Yes, you could, but I don't think. No, actually, I don't think you can get enough fuel to last you till the penultimate lap.
Right. Okay.
So I think fuel lasts about 3/4 of the. If you filled the tank, oh, little slider there. If you filled the tank, I think it'd last you 3/4 of the race.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Right. Okay. So a little bit of insight. This is the sort of thing you don't really get when me and Andy just do it on our own because we don't know anything. Josh Martin is jumping up the order to 5th place. Is that actually on the road? Yes, it is, as Lee Pearcey is struggling to keep it on the road, actually, which is a bit of a shame for him. There is Josh Martin, performing quite well in the race. He's always the first to admit qualifying is his kryptonite. How he would be very, very scary as a competitor with Josh Martin. He's not doing a very good job of showing how scary he would be, missing the apex by at least 2 postcodes. But it would be an extremely scary proposition, wouldn't he, Scott, if he could get that qualifying sorted out? Because that is, in a race, he can quite often come on strong, can't he? But he's always having to recover.
Yeah, he's a very fierce racer. I've raced against him for numerous seasons now, and he's very good, very tough, very hard, and he's my kind of racer. You know, I've got a lot of trust in Josh, and know that we can go side by side, and he can go side by side with pretty much anyone on the grid, and you know, it's really good. It's really close and really hard, and qualifying's never really been my forte either. If I'm being honest, I'm definitely more of a racer, a bit like Josh, than I am a qualifier. I've done alright in the BMWs, but yeah, if Josh could stick the car in the top 3 or 4 in qualifying, I think he'd be right up there in every round.
Should we drag him in here and have a chat?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have tried this before with Josh.
It did turn out well, did it?
It did not turn out well, and he's doing quite well at the moment.
Right.
So
I'm going to bring him in, and we'll ask him if he's okay, and if he's okay, we'll have a chat. And if not, I'll put him back.
That's fair enough. Yeah. Okay.
Let's do it.
And this way, I've covered myself, Josh. If you're watching this back, while Rich does that, while Rich finds Josh, in fact, he's in the house now, actually. And Josh, I know you're racing out there, but I was wondering if you'd be happy enough to have a quick chat. You've got some traffic coming up, but I don't want to distract you. But are you okay for an interview?
Yeah, if we're calling Joel Lax traffic, I'll take that.
Oh, is it Joel in front of you?
That's not Joel in front of him.
That's not Joel at all in front of you. Joel is in a Mercedes, so unless I've been calling that wrong for the past 4
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah, that's a back marker.
I was getting excited.
That's Sam Walton in front of you.
Oh.
Who has pitted as well, actually. So this might be quite interesting for you to sort of get a gauge on potentially if he's chucked new tyres or whatever he's done. So yeah, I mean, how's the race going? I was saying that qualifying was a little bit poor form from you, but the race, you've made up plenty of positions. You're in a really strong position.
I'm really happy with how it's going so far. I was quite happy with my qualifying as well, to be honest, because this car is quite tricky around this track. There's a few curbs and turns that are out to get you every time you go around them. So I think my main aim really is to just be the first place Lamborghini, which hanging on to at the minute.
You are achieving that. I was going to ask actually, because we've seen a lot of the BMW, we've seen a lot of the Mercedes, but the Lamborghini is sort of a car that we've seen scrapping towards the rear end of the field. Why is that? Why is the Lamborghini maybe slightly weaker of the 4 represented that we've got here today?
It's just the nature of the different tracks, really. Obviously, some tracks suit some cars more than other. The Lamborghini struggles on high speed, all the high speed stuff, the straights. but it's quite good in like low speed chicanes and things like that. Say like the bus stop chicane at Spa, it was like brilliant around, and it's quite good on its tyres as well. But where it becomes tricky is because it's down a little bit on straight line speed. You run it really trimmed out, so as little rear wing as you can have on it, which obviously makes it super dicey. Like this turn coming up here is probably the sketchiest for me. I'm like driving it probably at like 40%, because if I even try and push, I'll end up backwards in the wall. So, but it's a little sacrifice for obviously being able to run a smaller rear wing, which gives me makes me a bit more competitive down the straights.
Well, that's what we like to hear, really. Obviously, it's a tough couple of sections that you're sort of operating around. You did so well at the back end of the BMWs. You seem to be doing pretty well here as well with this tricky car. We've got COTA coming up, which might not suit the Lamborghini either too brilliantly. But, I mean, going into the Cupras, you really are coming on strong. Have you put a lot more practice in recently or anything like that?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I'd done about 10 laps yesterday evening. At about 10 o'clock. So no, I don't know. I just seem to be just driving better at the minute, which is nice. And I had a lot of bad luck. Start of this year, I think, with sim racing side, I just seem to always be at the wrong end of the stick all the time. Some of it, I guess, self-inflicted. Some of it not. But yeah, like I said though, the more practice you can put in, obviously, the faster you'll go. So. Thing in the Cupra be important to get a bit in before the championship starts, just to get familiar with the car, and yeah, hopefully it'll be competitive. It's been a little bit since done a front wheel drive champion, or seems a while.
You're a fan of front wheel drive, aren't you?
You see, I enjoy driving rear wheel drive cars more, but I know what I'm doing a lot more in a front wheel drive. So I often find I'm faster in a front wheel drive, but I enjoy rear wheel drive more. Plus I got my real world mini challenge experience with the front wheel drive cars. So I always feel super comfortable in a front wheel drive, but I seem to not really drive front wheel drive cars at all at the minute, in real life or on the sim. So it's kind of becoming a little bit opposite. Always the front wheel drive was almost like my default. That felt normal. But now when I jump into front wheel drive, it always just feels a little bit funny to start off with. But I'm sure it'll all come flooding back to me.
Speaking of flooding back to you, you may well have a position flooding back to you actually as well, because Craig Glurtus and Chris Blakey are in the pits. So you just got into 4th place and you just got into 3rd place actually as a result. So what's the pit strategy for you this one?
I'm trying to make the most of the good tyre wear on the Lamborghini. So I'm going long, but I can't wait to come into the pits because where I didn't have that much practice, I've not quite got my tyre pressures right, and I'm a PSI 2 high on 3 of my tyres, which really is not ideal. But yeah, when I come in, obviously I can rectify that, and hopefully I'll have a little bit more pace towards the end of the race.
PS high is, I feel like, a terminology I'm going to start using, actually. I think that sounds pretty cool. Yeah, well, we're going to let you go, Josh. But before I do, we've obviously got Scott Bugner here in the chat. Now, I'm not going to throw him under the bus and tell him to start interviewing you or anything like that. It's his first time here in the booth. Is that something you've ever thought about jumping in with us as commentary before now? Because if we start doing this a little bit more often with a few drivers who maybe aren't racing in these endurance leagues and stuff like that, I feel like you'd be a prime candidate for that.
Yeah, I'd be always down for a bit of commentary. I have done a little bit in real life, but I've been invited up to the commentary box. I've had that opportunity a couple of times, and
I'm going to ask you
this. It's always good fun.
I'm going to ask you this question then, Josh. When I put a notice out in announcements asking if anybody was interested, why haven't you replied?
I have replied.
You haven't?
He's racing.
Yeah, I'm volunteering someone else.
Oh, was you?
VRRC royalty.
Is it Dave?
Jack's favourite YouTube viewer.
No, that's banned. That's not happening. No, I'm kidding, obviously. It would be quite funny, actually, to have David, to be fair. Yeah, well, I'm going to let you go, Josh. I hope to actually have you in the booth one day, because I do think... Well, actually, firstly, and lastly, sorry, what was the gig that you did in real life?
I'm doing a little bit of Targa rallying at the minute, so it's like... It's just like stage rallying with your co-driver and, kind of that sort of route. but you're not doing the 100-mile-an-hour through trees scary stuff. It's all the lower speed, more technical things. And, you do sometimes get to kind of around the 80-mile-an-hour mark, but not very often. It's all slower speed, more technical. I do it in a little MX-5, so you're sideways everywhere, which is good fun. And it's it's just a good bit of fun. And Dave co-drives as well, so he really enjoys it.
He trusts you to do that, does he? 'Cause I was going to say, because he told us to bring you in and then told us to bully him, which we're not going to do.
I think we're pushing our luck now with Josh. I think we need to let him go.
Yeah, last time you interviewed me, I buried it in the wall, so
exactly.
I'm doing quite well today on this one.
Yeah, no, I'll let you go, Josh. I just all of a sudden got interested in what you're doing in real life. But thank you very much for coming in and having a chat, and we'll speak to you potentially later.
Yeah, thank you very much. See you later.
Right, well, that was Josh Miles. I know that went on for quite a while. To be fair, he was doing all right, and it was quite interesting.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
But we do have a couple of people in the pits, don't we? Rich, have you been, or Scott, have either of you been keeping up with who we have in the pits? Because I've seen that. Rich, you've sort of been jumping to a few people.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, Joel's been in, and Chris has been in. So the two Lambos, Andy Carroll and Josh Martin, have not yet topped.
No, they haven't.
Or Oliver. Oliver's looking extremely pretty there, isn't he? With 33-second lead. And
he's already pitted, hasn't he?
Has he?
He must have pitted.
I don't think so. Not with a 33. Oh, mind you, yeah, he probably has actually.
Because he was 40 seconds ahead of
Correct,
drivers
yeah.
who have pitted.
Yeah.
So
I've missed that.
Yeah, I think he pitted in the last lap and is still 30 seconds ahead of everybody else. Just having a.
Well, he's actually more than that ahead of the guys that were directly behind him because they've pitted as well, haven't they? Yeah. So Josh, Johnny, and Andy. Yeah, Josh, Johnny, and Andy. I don't think they've pitted yet.
Yeah, I think he pitted 3 laps ago and was able to get out before the others pitted.
Right.
Still ahead. So he's basically Max Verstappening it. He's basically got 3 pit stops all over the place. He can make another one now and still win.
Just a little notice for people that are watching. It does look like YouTube is having a bitrate issue at the moment. I assure you, we are not having technical issues this end. We are broadcasting just fine, but it looks like it's very laggy on YouTube. If you try a screen refresh, it seems to fix it for a while. But other than that, unfortunately, we're going to have to live with it.
Yeah, thank you to Max Wiltshire for letting us know in the YouTube chat. It's always good to have a little bit of feedback if we need to adjust levels of. Sorry?
Yeah, little Max. I know Max. He's the son of one of my mates.
Oh, is he really?
Yes.
Oh, nice to tune in then. He never jumped on the sim before with you?
He's got his own sim. His dad bought a sim off me for him, and I'm expecting to see another 12-year-old on our grid soon to race with Thomas. Yeah, hopefully so.
Well, that'll be exciting. So big up Max Wiltshire who's tuned in. As I said, it is always useful if there are little bits of feedback that you want us to do in the broadcast. If we can, we will. Things like audio levels and stuff. If you can't quite hear us over the engines or vice versa.
Here's something interesting on screen. Oliver's just about to lap Brad. No, that's Joel. That's Joel, I think. It's Joel.
Is it Joel? I'm having a look at the live timing screen. It is
Joel.
Joel. Yeah, that is Joel, who is currently sat in 7th place. So Oliver lapping a driver who is legitimately trying to race for, top 5 position. I think Joel did have a bit of a moment, didn't he? But he's still probably operating for about 5th position, and he has pitted. So that is quite astonishing. By the end of this race, we'll have probably seen Oliver lap everyone, and then probably another half of the grid, to be honest. Although it's getting very tight as he tries to overtake, I think that's Johnny Ogden in the traffic. Joel Lass tries to follow his way through, and in fact, this is actually for position. So Oliver Gibson can get out of the way quite nicely, but he's dragged Joel Lass through on Johnny Ogden, who's just come out of the pits. I don't think there's any tyre warming up needed, but Joel Lass managing to get past Johnny there, and for 6th place. Josh Martin still hasn't pitted, and I think that's the only driver inside the top 6 that hasn't actually. So that is for provisional 5th place. Scott, when you come out the pits, does that interrupt your rhythm? Do you need to warm up the tyres again? Is there any sort of intricacies like that they have to think?
I think it's kind of mind games. I think you'd think you go out and you're like, okay, the tyres are going to be cold, so it does take you a little bit of time just to gather back up your momentum and get focused again. But like I said, these guys have been doing it for so long now. I'm sure they'll get out there and they won't even think about it. They'll be straight on the throttle and going for it. But Oliver Gibson's so fantastic, isn't he? He really is.
Sorry, I was just adjusting a few things in my office as the sun has gone down now. But he is pretty astonishing. It seems in that BMW, and obviously coming second last week only to Jack, who, to be fair to Oliver, it will be very helpful to have Jack sat alongside him. But I don't know if he's actually got that much to do, really, because Oliver's got so much pace. I reckon Jack's probably gone and got a muffin or something.
Technical issue there. There we go, we're back.
Scott, are you...
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, there we go. Yep, we're back.
Everything's back, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of a connection issue there. I thought I'd been kicked off. I thought my PC was about to break. That's why I was sort of all of a sudden going a bit panicky. But yes, I don't imagine, Scott, that Jack Smith has really had that much to do from Oliver's point of view, because Oliver's just taking care of business himself. I
should think he's got his legs up, his feet up, and he's having a nice ice cream and relaxing. I should think that's what he's doing. That's what I'd like to be doing. No, absolutely. It's been quite a flawless drive from Oliver. He's stayed out of trouble. He's just got on with it, put his head down, and he's just picking his way through the back markers as well as he can. And he can't do a better job than what he's doing.
Ice cream, now you're talking. That's the sort of life I need to be living right now. To be fair, I could have one. I've got 2 co-commentators. I could just get you off on a little conversation, and away I go and cornetto. But anyway, I won't do that because I'm a professional. Even though you probably haven't even noticed that I went to the toilet. Josh Martin is still in second place. Chris Blakey in third. Craig Curtis in fourth. But unfortunately, there's a little bit of a gap between Craig and Chris. It has come down a little bit. I mean, we're all hoping, aren't we, that gap can close up a little bit and we can see a reigniting of a tough battle.
I think so,
sorry,
yeah.
Scott, yeah, I was talking to you.
Yes.
Scott,
no, I think so too. I think that, like I said, there's not a lot of time between them, I think, lap time-wise. But personally, I'd say Chris has just been on top on the pace at the minute. He's been really good in this race. I know he's had a couple of ups and downs. But, you know, he's still in third position at the minute, isn't he? And his pace is good. It's really good. So I think he'll be really happy with what he's got. Craig, he's not far off, is he? He's definitely going to be putting Chris under probably some pressure. I think if Chris makes any slight mistake, I should think Craig will pounce as quick as he can.
He will indeed, yeah. You pretty much guarantee it, can't you? I mean, we talking as we're getting a little bit of a lull period. Scott, you mentioned that you've done a lot of AC. You've sort of done the F1 and stuff like that. Why is it that AC is sort of your go-to? And have you sort of joined any other communities when you've done AC or anything like that? Or was VRRC your one and only that you're racing with?
No, like I said, I think for me, I did an F1 league. Joel got me into an F1 league long time ago. Probably if we go back to childhood days, me and Joel used to play a game called Live for Speed.
I remember
back
that.
when, yeah, we were. My dad bought me my first Logitech G25 back when I was about 13, 14, and me and Joel used to stay on the phone for an hour at a time and laugh about it and take each other out, and just like we do now, pretty much. Nothing's changed. We've just progressed, and everything kind of I've done, Joel's done, and everything Joel's done, I've done in the racing community.
How did you get to know Joel?
Funny enough, we're born about 6 hours apart.
Right.
His birthday is on the 10th of February, mine's on the 9th. And I was born obviously late hours of the evening. And we've been in the same class at school. Pretty much every single class we had, we were in the same class, apart from when we used to get in trouble, we'd get split up quite often. We went to college. He did something different at college, but I went and done mechanics at college. He was at the same college. So we've always been, you know, really, really close. And he only lives about 10, 15 minutes from me now. And, you know, he got me into the F1 scene, and then I jumped over. I think I started talking to Dan Zelos about minis and stuff a few years ago, and him and Max Bird said, "I'll come along. You know, we do this racing on VRRC," and I jumped at it, and yeah, it's just fantastic. Yeah, like I said, the guys here are great. You know, good laugh, and you know, the good thing is we have good banter off the track, you know, and on the track it's hard, it's fierce, but I enjoy it, and that's why we always come back, and we want to do more and more where we can, and we help Rich where we can, and help you guys where we can, because, you know, without you guys we wouldn't be doing it, so we have to kind of, you know, help you out where we can, and say thank you for that. But AT's just been a great game. I've not witnessed anything like it before. You know, as soon as I jumped on it, I think my first race was, I think it was in a Ginetta. I think it was in a Ginetta, a long time ago.
League of Champions?
I think it was. I think I did it when, I think Senna Proctor was doing it, Max Coates, I think, was doing it as well. It was quite a while ago, and I loved it.
That was a touring car championship we did.
That's it, yeah, that was it. And for me personally, how I've always looked at it is, you know, motorsport's really expensive, and, you know, sponsorship and everything like that. How I looked at it was, I would maybe one day, hopefully, fingers crossed, but how things are at the minute, I would never get to share a grid with people like Senna Proctor and Dan Zidos, and it feels good to be able to interact with them sort of people and talk to them about their motor racing, and you just get a really good insight of how they race online, and you watch them in real life, and that's what I like about it.
Yeah, so it does sort of bring the community a lot closer, isn't it? Really, and I think, I personally think that's where they sort of missed the mark. Do you remember in COVID, the F1 got shut down, and they did the F1 esports for Sky Sports, and I think they missed the mark in a lot of ways there, because instead of getting the average, like, sim races closer to real life races and stuff like that, they decided to get football involved and everything like that, and I think it didn't really represent what the sim racing community does, or is what's best about it, really, isn't it? And that is the sort of fact that you do get to interact with these real life drivers and the top end sim racers. There's not that much difference in terms of the preparation and everything, or the sort of the experiences that you go through. Obviously, they lose a lot more money if they crash it and stuff like that, but it is interesting to sort of like get on, you know, have those conversations, and, as you said, get on the grid with a lot of those guys as well. It's really exciting. It's very kind of you to say that, include me with the spiel about without us it doesn't really happen, because I can guarantee you without me it would absolutely happen. It's nice for the thanks, I think, for that job. I mean, what made you want to get into commentating? Like, I was curious on that when Rich said that you were interested, and I was thinking, oh really, well, where's that sort of inspiration come from?
Well, funnily enough, obviously I've always been into motor racing from when I was, you know, when I was born. My dad was racing, and I've always been at racing tracks and involved in cars, etc. And, you know, when I was younger, I used to nick my mum's salt and pepper pots and put them on the kitchen side and make chicanes out of them and play with my little Hot Wheels cars. I just used to commentate to myself. I just used to like enjoy it, and from a really young age, I used to like know all of the like English kits and know all the corners and go there. And I'd be commentating in real. I think it's just. Obviously, I've been to so many different circuits now, and I learned back in the day when my dad was racing. I'd look at a little map and it does cover into Cops now, into Magus and Beckett's, you know, a little child running around Riot. And my mum always said when I was younger, you should get into commentary because you don't blooming stop talking when you're doing it. I said, yeah, I'll give it a go. And now this is my first time doing it.
Well, hopefully, many more to come as well. But I mean, to be fair, with the Coopers and stuff, I know you're racing in it and stuff like that. But I'm not sure if who's going to be the commentary team for that one. To be fair, I think it's Richard John Neal.
Richard John Neal's our lead comms, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that and then all of a sudden realise that it was old news or something like that. But,
no. Richard's our lead comms.
Fantastic. So, I mean, you'll be learning from the best, Scott, if you do jump in with him at any point during the season. Half an hour to go. We're coming into the sort of moment where we're sort of in that sort of sprint race era. You know, if we could use a Taylor Swift analogy, for instance.
Do you know what I think we should do?
I'm sorry?
Should we bring Oliver in?
Yeah, he's got nothing else to do.
He's got enough time if he does spin, doesn't he?
Is he one of the people that is happy to?
He is indeed. He's down as a race interview. Yeah, so I'll bring him in.
Yeah, because then if he spins, at least it might make it quite interesting. So here is Oliver Gibson. I'm going to start talking to you straight away, Oliver, to make it as hard as possible. Because frankly, we haven't seen you tonight. To be honest, I mean, you are a 1 minute and 7 seconds ahead and a half, if you really want to get specific, ahead of Chris Blakey. I mean, are you bored?
Yeah.
I didn't expect that. Wow.
I am.
Yes.
tempted during the pit stop to put some music on, but I did that at Le Mans actually in this round. Well, not this round, this championship. But yeah, I've had a few moments on my own. But yeah, I can't believe there's still 27 minutes to go.
Oliver,
Well,
it's Rich. Is Jack doing a good job for you?
He is, yeah.
Is he actually doing anything?
Yeah, he's updating the gap.
Good.
Does he have an ice cream?
Tell him to have an ice cream. I need an ice cream. I'm boiling. Oh.
You could have done a driver change, to be fair. We wouldn't have known. It was so damn quick. That would have been really interesting, actually, if you had done that. It would have been hilarious. You could have scored half points each or something.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, we'll try our best to entertain you and ask you some engaging questions. But realistically, were you expecting this going into tonight?
I thought I would do well, because obviously this is one of my favourites. And I saw the pace. I kept looking at the server sort of during today. I was looking at the server, see if anyone was improving. But yeah, I mean, I just put as many laps in as I could. I did some offline as well because, you know, I don't want to reveal the pace to everyone. Oh, I've got a back marker. Hang on. There we go.
Do you do that
every
time?
Sound a lot harder than it looked.
Do you do that sound every time you do a back marker?
There was one actually. There was one, I can't remember who it was, a few, maybe 20 minutes ago. Came out in the pits. I think they were battling the car behind me, and they didn't want to give up the position, and oh my goodness.
Oh, that was Johnny Ogden.
Was it?
Joel and Johnny Ogden.
Yeah, it's Joel Lass and Johnny Ogden.
That's
that
on the
was
broadcast. Yeah, that's on the broadcast. Yeah.
Good, because that was more of a whoo moment. I'll say Jack can join the Discord if you want. Can join in.
Yeah, let's bring him in.
To be fair, actually, yeah. Well, I mean, we'll bring him in a second. Then we'll chat to you for the next couple of minutes, and then we'll bring Jack in because he might as well stay in here for longer, so we don't ruin your race sort of thing. Then, but I mean, realistically, I've been chatting to Scott about his journey into motorsport and stuff like that. Because obviously it's the first time we have him in this evening for a long period of time. What's your sort of call into motorsport then? Were you karting when you were younger, or were you just sort of always into it, or what sort of brought you to the sim racing and racing world in general?
Well, the only karting I've ever done is team sport, so...
Hey, don't knock it. Don't knock it. It's hard cars to drive.
Well, I'm not going to say anything because Jack may work for him. So yeah, I haven't done any real life racing. But I mean, I never really crossed my mind when I was little about racing. It was more football for me, and then stopped football, tried some other sports, and then I think Jack started watching it, and then we went to the Autosport show, I think.
Oh yeah.
In the NEC, and that sort of was like the fuel. And then we went to F1 in 2018, and then that was sort of the spark. And then from there, it's yeah.
You come and watch the better race in F1. You watched me at Silverstone winning the wet, didn't you?
This is a good point. I did watch it. Yeah, that was a good race actually.
That was a great race.
Where we were side by side every lap. Yeah, and then I did F1 for ages, absolutely ages. I did F1, so that's
that
where
does
my...
seem to be the gateway drug of sim racing. I do think the F1 games, don't they? A lot of people come from them because they're the obvious sort of first go-to on consoles, and then people get a little bit more addicted to it, and they sort of start upgrading things and stuff like that, don't they? And all of a sudden you end up on AC. How did you become aware of VRRC and in general?
It was Jack, all Jack. So he did Mazdas and stuff like that, Caymans, I think he did. Saw him win, and I was like, I want to get involved. So
you reckon you could do better?
Well, I don't know. Well,
yeah, see, he's thinking about it now,
no,
isn't he? He's getting quicker.
No, it's just because I did the F1 stuff, and then I just got bored of it because the racing's not that good. Sorry to F1 fans, but it's just it just feels so. When you're driving it, obviously, you know, properly sim racing it, you don't feel like you're driving it. It's sort of like, you know, feels like the car's driving you with the DRS and ERS and all that. So I just got bored of it, and then started this and had to learn mechanical grip cars and all of that, and then it's much better racing. I have to agree. I was always a downforce-driven cars are the best, but I think I have to disagree now. So.
Yeah, I'm for sure. Mechanical grip is the way forward, in my opinion. It makes the best entertainment anyway. Oliver, I'm gonna let you go, and I'm gonna have a chat. Well, you can say it in the comments if you want, just for the entertainment value. But we're gonna have a chat. It's Jack Smith is in the Discord actually. Yeah. So Jack, I mean, how bored are you sat there?
I think I'm more excited than Ollie, to be honest.
I mean, he's got 1 minute and 9.5 seconds. I mean, it's
yeah, it's good, isn't it? It's a good gap. It's a healthy gap, that.
Yeah, he's bossing it, isn't he? I mean, did you expect that when you sort of said or volunteered, "Oh, I'll come and watch you upstairs"?
Yeah, well, I'm sat in the other room in a minute watching my spreadsheet update, but yeah, it's yeah, he's doing well. I said to him at the start of the race, you know, we want before the first pit stop, we want a 39-second gap if you can do that for us. And I was joking when I said that, and he did it by lap 20. So yeah, so that was the exact time we wanted for in the entire pit stop to come out ahead of the car behind. So I was like, all right, if you can do that, that'd be perfect. And you did it by lap 20. So yeah, we're flying at the minute. So he's we're fairly happy. But yeah, he had the pace before I even started doing stuff for him. So yeah, I just helped him with setup and made a bit of a strategy fuel-wise and everything. So it's going well. So.
You just made it more uninteresting for everybody else then. Got him even faster. Jack, I want to have a little bit of a chat for your real world, basically.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned last week that you got the Masters. Remind us what it was in again.
Yep, motorsport engineering, would you believe it?
And how, I mean, we just asked Oliver about his sort of drive into, and sort of inspiration of getting into motorsport and his little journey. I mean, you've obviously taken that to quite an academic extreme as well. I mean, where was the journey start for you?
Oh gosh. So originally, I think back in like 2016, I was at college doing IT, and that was at the time that was what I thought I wanted to do. So yeah, and then I went to the 2017 F1 Grand Prix with my dad, and then I remember messaging my mum after that, saying I don't think it's for me. after seeing everyone in the pit lane and everything for the first time, it was like, yeah, no, I want to do that. Yeah. So changed last minute after I'd finished at college to do motorsport engineering at uni, which was a massive change. So I had to do a foundation year entry and everything because they didn't have the maths. So yeah, did that, and then 5 years later got the masters. So yeah, and then just been doing motorsport stuff ever since, really.
So what's the next step then? Now you've got the qualification and everything like that. What are you doing at the moment? What's the plan and everything?
At the minute, I'm probably going to have a year, which I've only just decided it's going to have a year, just a casual job for the 1 year, and then go into graduate jobs in motorsport. And I'm hoping to get into F1, but any job where I'm trackside really would be ideal. I just want to do this sort of stuff for real cars, really.
I was going to say, so what are you sat there doing now? You said you had a spreadsheet and everything like that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people out there maybe don't know, family members who, like the Potter family, for instance, that Thomas might want to go into this if racing driver doesn't become an actual reality, which is what happens to a lot of people, unfortunately. I'm not saying what happens to Thomas, but what are you sat there doing? What does that sort of masters entail?
So I made a script like yesterday to pull all the data from the live timing website onto an Excel sheet, and then from there I can do whatever I want with all the timing data. So that's basically what I've done. So I've got gaps to Blakey, from which me and Ollie decided we wanted to try and see how close we can get to lapping him. So I've got a delta to him at the minute.
He's got 20 minutes, so he's got about 20 seconds, hasn't
he? He has got 20 seconds to him, yeah, seen it. So he's alright, it's about 5/10 a lap faster at the minute, so I've got lap gains on Blakey, I've got the actual delta, I've got the time remaining, everything else just updating live every second, so yeah, I've got that, and then I made a different sheet where we worked out the strategy from Motec data, so I had Ollie do a half-an-hour stint, and I pulled all the tyre data, fuel data, everything like that. We worked on the setup and everything, so we got the strategy basically spot on. I think he's got, when he finishes the race, he should have about 5 minutes of fuel left, so it's like as perfect as this track could be at the minute, so that's what I've been working on.
Well, if it's higher or lower than 5 minutes, I'm taking that Masters away from you.
I was going to say, Jack, you could actually make some money before a Wednesday night sprint race because everyone's asking on the grid, how much fuel do we put in? If you start charging, you can make a lot of money off that.
Maybe I should. Yeah, maybe I should. I could do it personalised for everyone.
Exactly.
You do the masterclasses now, don't you?
Yeah. Next one tomorrow evening, I believe.
So what's that on?
Yeah. It's on vision, so it's all about where to look on track. So like if you're on track, where you should be focusing, where you're looking at for the next corner and so forth. So yeah, it's a big one.
Just to add to your things to do, then, Jack, you might want to do an announcement for that.
Yeah, could do really, shouldn't I? Get people involved.
Well, Rich, I was going to say actually, give us a little bit of what is the masterclasses? Why is it? What is it in terms of VRRC?
A lot. So one of the things that we love doing here is seeing people progress, and the amount of drivers that have been with us for such a long time. If you look at Paul Laramie, Andy Carroll, these guys have been with us literally from the start, and from the start is like 4 or 5 years now. So these people have just progressed. So by getting in the races, maybe sitting at the back of the races, but learning from the people in front, and that kind of got me thinking that maybe we can do a little bit more for our members. So every month, the last Thursday in the month, we do a masterclass, and Jack has kindly taken over doing those for me, and they're on all different subjects. We've done braking, we've done the racing line, and as Jack said, we're now doing vision, which is, as you know, Jack, extremely important for a racing driver to make sure they're looking at the right part of the track. So yeah, one a month. It's free to members, and it's just something that we like to give back.
Yeah, I was going to say vision is crucial, isn't it,
Yeah.
Jack? Because a lot of people do just look 5 meters in front of them, looking at where the braking zone is, without actually looking at anywhere where the apex is or the exit, or where to make the lunges or anything like that in the peripheral, or something like that. So, I mean, how do you prepare for that sort of thing?
For the masterclass or
Yeah.
the vision in general? The masterclass is I usually spend maybe 2 days. I've started working on the document recently, actually, getting that ready. So I usually make a visualization of everything I'm going to be teaching people, which Rich has seen from the last one. It's usually just basic stuff, but it helps people understand it.
Gets the point across, though, Jack.
It doesn't want to be too over the top, does it? Really? No. So it just needs to get the point across, like Rich said. But yeah, make that doc, and then it usually involves some practical stuff, and I'll sit back and watch everyone's laps. Making sure they're putting into action what they've been taught, really. So
yeah, it's, the biggest thing with the vision that I remember, I went to iZone to get some coaching and stuff, and they put the eye tracker on you, so you can see where your pupils are looking on the screen of the sim. It's fascinating. And they did mine versus Kevin Magnussen, which was incredible. He was looking like 2 corners ahead. It was insane. But the biggest thing I was always taught that stuck with me for the longest time is you wouldn't drive in the dark on half beams. Why wouldn't you put full beams on if no one's around, sort of thing? And that's the same thing. You don't want to look just 5-10 meters ahead of you. You want to be full beams and looking up and through the corner, sort of thing. So it's fascinating. So I mean, Jack, it's been fascinating to speak to you. We've got 13 minutes left to go, so we're probably going to let you say goodbye while we round up the race. But yeah, good luck for the masterclass. Good luck for the Coopers and everything like that. And yeah, if I see anything out in the motorsport world, I'll be sure to send you a message. Nice one. Thanks, Jack. And that was Jack Smith, Oliver Gibson. We've spoken to Josh Martin. We've spoken to quite a few people. It's been quite fascinating. Scott, I apologise for not bringing you in there to have a chat too much, but yeah, it's always good to get the likes of you and other drivers involved in the commentary sort of thing. It brings a completely different perspective. I bet you've never done an interview that's been this in depth, basically.
I haven't indeed, but I have just looked at my phone, and Brad Smith has asked if he can be dropped in here, and he'll have a chat. So it looks like he's DNF.
Has he really?
Yes, I just looked at my phone. I was just about to text Rich and let him know, but
yeah, we'll bring him in.
I'm on here. Yeah, no, it's nice to have you know, different perspectives from different drivers and things like that. You know, and by the sounds of it, you know, Jack says he's a very clued up guy, and he knows exactly what he's doing. And I'll be messaging him when the Coopers start asking him what fuel to put in.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I'll be asking for some money for it though.
I'll give you you send me your PayPal details.
Yeah.
He's got a student loan to pay off, don't you know?
Oh mate, it's big. It's big.
Right, we have Brad Smith in the Discord. Brad, I mean, I'll be honest. Unfortunately, we didn't see how it ended. But how did it end?
It was a back marker.
Oh,
Came across the track straight in front of me. It's one of those things. He's already messaged me saying sorry. He just didn't see me, so it's one of those things. But I think I might have to nip to work, get some more overtime in, so I can start paying Jack. Sounds of it.
You can join the masterclass tomorrow, obviously, included in the entry fee. So, I mean, you were having a real good scrap. You were in second place for a long time, actually, and then obviously just a small mistake while you were on your own ended up losing those positions. I mean, how hard are these cars to consistently maintain this pace?
This Merc is a right handful. I don't know, like, well, Joel's done the setup for us, because there's no point in even trying to do a setup. It's a case of, I wait for Joel to do some laps, and then he sends it over. They're really hard. I don't know whether we've got the setup wrong, because Craig Curtis is going well in the Merc. But yeah, I think if you get it right, it'll be perfect. But what we're doing, we must be doing something wrong, because Craig is. I'm watching the live stream now. Craig's got it on rails, so we've obviously done something wrong again.
Yeah, I was going to say, it did look like you and Joel had a couple too many mistakes in your sort of thing. And Craig hasn't been the cleanest, I mean, but there has only been wobbles, really, that's it. Whereas not just big slides or off-track moments sort of thing. I mean, so we're going into COTA next week. Slightly different track, obviously. But is that a case of, right, back to the drawing board and sort of try and work a little bit harder to get that setup nailed?
Yeah, I think I only done something like 20 laps practice in. So
hard
I should probably
do that little practice.
Yeah, I should. Well, when I started, I was like, I don't even know this track. I started going around, I couldn't get it in my head, and then after I got off, I was like, hang on a minute, it's the Brazil F1 track. What am I on about? I do know this track. Then when I got on tonight, I was like, right, okay. I thought I'd grasped it, but the Merc, because we have it so low, to try and get, because it just doesn't like turning in. And then when it does turn in, the back end tries to go around with it. So if you touch a curb, that's it, game over.
Too much rear toe.
Normally the Mercedes is quite nice on the curb.
Yeah. sounds like you've got too stiff a suspension set up and too much rear toe.
Right, so it's a little bit late to tell me this now.
You've not asked before now.
But I've never driven COTA, I don't think, unless Rich has done it before.
Yeah, we've done it before, but I don't know if you're in it.
Yeah, it's probably my 2-year gap. So it'll be another learning curve. Hopefully, we can do a bit better. I mean, there's a few Phoenix boys that have had to drop out. Adam's not very well, bless him. I don't know what happened to Thomas.
I was going to say, did you know what happened to Thomas?
No, he literally just disappeared out the chat as well. So I don't know whether something's happened with his PC or what. Joel's doing well. Joel, funny story with Joel. He came in for the pits.
Is it clean?
Yeah, he had to go for a wee, so he went. Came back and the pit stop had finished, and he was just sat there waiting. So that's why he's dropped back. But hopefully he can catch up with Andy Carroll. It looks like he's slowly catching up, and then he's got a fairly big gap to Josh. So not long left. So I don't think he'll catch him unless Josh makes a mistake.
Well, I think I can tell you that Scott Bugner has a couple of questions who we've obviously had in the commentary box this evening. Scott, take it away.
Brad, when you and Craig were battling early on in the race, we were just having a little question between us. Was Joel asking you to back him up slightly just to try and get Joel back in with you two to catch up, or was it just all for yourself and see what you can do?
No comment.
Yeah.
No, at first when Craig was behind Joel, Craig and Chris, Joel was telling me to push, and then when they got past him, he was like, all right, now slow down and back him up into me.
I thought that would be the case.
I was like, all right. And well, he said it was payback for when we was in the minis and I helped him win the championship in the last race. He said it's payback, and then he sort of reversed that straight away. So we'll have a discussion with that after.
Yeah, tell him for me. It weren't good enough. Weren't good enough.
All this insider information, I mean, Rich never get to hear any of this. This is very interesting. The team orders are strong in Phoenix. It's mad. Right.
It's glad that Joel's changed his attitude, because his team orders weren't great when I was his teammate.
How is it to be part of Phoenix, Brad? Really, I mean, because
brilliant.
It's a big team now all of a sudden, isn't it? I mean, when it came on, there was only 2 drivers in it. I genuinely can't remember who they were actually, but now there's like half the grid is Phoenix.
Yeah, it's brilliant. They're a great bunch of lads. We always, obviously, Tom does his real life karting. We go meet up, watch Tom, support him, help him out as and where we can. We went Brands Hatch and watched a GT Cup all together, and watched Johnny Ogden at Brands as well, because he was there at the same time. Well, primarily we went to watch Johnny, but the GT Cup was there as well. With Brabham's new car, which is extremely impressive.
I can imagine.
Yeah, that thing sounds insane. If you ever get a chance to go watch it, like, grab the chance. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Sat in that. It's a nice car.
Have you? Yeah, it's lovely.
Nice car.
Yeah. But even down to Stu Vickers, the owner / boss. I like to call him. I like to call him Gru, because we're all his little minions. And he's the big boss. He doesn't know that, so I've just dropped myself in it.
Well, he was in the pits, I think, 50 laps ago or something like that. So
yeah, he is watching. I think he likes it, because with Tom, we like to help him as we're going through the race, because he likes to focus on his delta time all the time. Like when we went to watch him karting, he came in and we was like, "How was the kart?" And he's like, "Well, one lap I was up on 2 tenths, and the next lap I was down." And we're like, "Right." So we taped over his little display he's got on his wheel. He was like, "Right, you're not looking at that," and we have to do the same with Sim, because he's constantly looking at his delta, and we're just trying to help him get out of that groove of just constantly worrying about his lap times and just trying to keep it smooth. But we are like just like a big group of lads that are just trying to help each other out.
Well, it's always nice to hear. I mean, that is what hopefully motorsport is. You know, that's what it should be built on. Obviously, some people take it far too seriously and stuff like that every so often, but that is what we like to hear anyway. I know in defence of Thomas, I think that's an experience thing rather than an age thing, because I used to do that all the time as well. And in the end, they actually turned off my race logic and my genetics. They were like, it's the most annoying thing in the world when I come in. I'm like, I was 2 tenths up. It's like, well, it doesn't matter because he didn't do the lap. So
just to bring us back to the race, we've got 4 minutes left.
Yes, I was literally about to say goodbye to Brad. But yeah, so Brad, a big thank you for coming in. I'm sorry that it was obviously in circumstances that it meant you DNF'd, but big thanks for coming in and having a chat.
Lovely speaking to you. See you later.
Good night, sir.
Right, yes, I was about to bring it back because we have only got 4 minutes, but there's not really that much happening. But I suppose 4 minutes is enough time to reflect on what has happened over the past 90 minutes, or, 86 minutes anyway. I mean, Scott, a word on Oliver. He's been brilliant, hasn't he?
He's been in a class of his own. You know, we're bless him. He hasn't had much time on the screen, but at the end of the day, it's probably more difficult for him. You know, because he's in the lead, so he doesn't want to make any mistakes. And even with the gap that he's got, you're still dialed in, and you. Especially in real life, you'll probably know the same, Jack, that, you know, when you're counting down the laps, you're listening for noises in the car, you're feeling vibrations, and all them little things are going around in your head. And it'd be the same now. I used to get it because my computer used to be rubbish. Once again, Rich can vouch for me. I'll be going 2 laps to go. It's going to cut out. I'm going to get a black screen. And then little things, they play on your mind, and that's when you start to make mistakes and what have you. But you know, Oliver's got a very clear head, and he just drives them around nice and sensibly. And I'm not going to jinx him and say it's all his, but yeah, he's done really well, hasn't he?
He has done, and I mean, Rich, if we look at the battles further back involving Chris, Craig, Joel, and Brad, they were brilliant to watch, weren't they? I mean, you didn't know where to point the camera.
No, no, you're absolutely right. It was, I mean, that gaggle of 4 Mercedes all together, there was a lot of action going on, so that was really entertaining to watch. I am very upset with Jack, though, because it doesn't look like Oliver is going to catch Chris Blakey by the end of the race.
Oh, tut.
But
he's clearly got that Masters is undeserved. People they just hand them out these days.
No, you're absolutely right. Craig has been very entertaining, so I'm gonna go for Craig for driver of the round.
Yeah, to be fair, I think I narrowed it down on our little Discord saying it's got to be Craig or Chris. It's got to be one of those two, hasn't it? Because they provided us with so much entertainment, and I'm gonna sort of sit on the fence until Scott gives me one of his votes, and if it's a tie, then I'll be the tie break. But I don't think anybody can really complain about Craig getting it, and he does seem strong in these GT cars. It's always nice to see different people at the front end of the order, because we do have, quite often, apart from obviously I know Oliver's won this, and he's quite often at the sharp end as well, but in these GTs in the World Endurance League, that's one of the best things about it, Rich, isn't it? The fact that we do see different people right at the sharp end. Yeah,
I mean, when you throw in a little bit of strategy, and the sprint race guys sometimes get wrong-footed by that, and the people that, think about it a little bit more. Not saying the sprint guys, sprint experts don't think about it, but the guys that do a bit more endurance racing generally get to do a better strategy and have a better race. And they also know it's an endurance race, it's not a sprint race, right? You've got to get consistent, and don't fall off the track. We've had 5 drivers DNF this evening, so just on being consistent and being not at your ultimate pace, that degradation of the field really helps as well. So Oliver's just coming up to a back marker again. Hopefully he can get through it okay. Yep, there we go. So it's a totally different proposition, and it's not everybody's cup of tea, but we like it.
We do like it. 40 odd seconds left to go, Brad. Scott, I'm gonna come back to you one last time about 2 drivers. Very quick word on 2 drivers. One of them is your vote for driver of the round, and the other one, and first one I want you to talk about quickly, is Andy Carroll, the definition of consistent and inside the top 5. The driver we said was struggling all the way down in 13th. Well, he's pulled his way through, hasn't he? And Josh Martin as well, to be fair, is still in 4th place after a late pit stop.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was actually just about to bring Andy Carroll up and just say, what I said earlier on was consistency is key, and just keep your head in the game and pick him off whilst you can, and different strategies, and he's come up to 5th position, which is great. And like we said with Josh, if that qualifying was just that slightly bit better, who knows where he could have been. He could have been on the podium. But yeah, Andy and Josh have driven a great race. They've stayed out of trouble. They've just lap after lap, just consistent, no mistakes, and they're in the top 5, which is a really good result for them.
And your vote for driver of the round before we see Oliver Gibson cross the line?
So my driver of the day, I would have said, would have been Chris Blakely, just because he had a little bit of a rocky start, but he kept his head cool, and he's had a really good pace tonight.
Right, so that is 1 each. So as my vote crosses the line, I will announce it. I think that's because that gives me about a minute to think about it.
Less than that.
Well, I don't know. Actually, Oliver Gibson hasn't lapped them, has he? So he's a minute and 20 seconds ahead of Chris Blakey at least. So he's going to be easily the winner of this race. He's not going to be the driver of the round, but it's pretty sensational stuff that he's had. Even though he's had a race engineer in his ear and in the next room for the entire evening. Take nothing away from Oliver Gibson. He may well be bored, but he is on top of the step of the podium, and he's probably quite relieved to see the checkered flag. 90 minutes later, 1 minute and 21 seconds. He almost headed into the wall, but he's weaving across the line to take the checkered flag. Big up to Oliver Gibson. A big thanks to him while doing all of that, still coming in for an interview and chatting with us, and as well as Jack Smith, obviously, who is in the next room helping him. It's been an absolutely great race from Oliver, and we're very much hoping he can take that into COTA and then into the Coopers, because he's going to upset a lot of normal front runners. As everybody else comes through the checkered flag, we're going to focus on Chris Blakey, who is the next positioned driver, and one of the few that Oliver didn't actually end up actively lapping. I think he lapped all the way up to 4th place. Yeah, because Josh Martin's just crossed the line. So I don't think Craig Curtis or Chris Blakey were lapped, although Craig Curtis was cutting it particularly fine. I'm actually trying to find him on the Where is Craig Curtis? Oh, but there we go. He's just ahead of Lee Pearcey on the track. Yeah, Gibson. He was the next car Gibson was going to come up to. Was pretty much Craig Curtis. He had to get through Lee Pearcey once more as well, but they're pretty much on top of each other. So, yeah, that would have been pretty sensational. He didn't quite get all the way there, did Oliver, but he did do a damn good effort. Josh Martin and Andy Cowell, we've also mentioned, did a fantastic job. They'd have been in a shout on another day for driver of the round. But my driver of the round is going to the driver that's on screen, Chris Blakey, who, as Scott said, had a little bit of an up and down earlier on in the race. So did Craig Curtis, but the way that Chris drew up to the back of a battling Craig Curtis and Joel Lask and got through both of them within about a lap and a half and pulled off into the distance, that moment alone, that lap and a half was enough for me to give the driver of the round to Chris Blakey. Well done to him, and well done to Craig Curtis. Those two were easily the most entertaining drivers we had on our screens. Well done to Josh Martin and Andy Cowell, the kings of the tactics board. But overall, the best driver of the day probably was Oliver Gibson. I don't think anybody can take that away. But the driver of the round that gave us the most entertainment was Chris Blakey. Right, to an advert and then to interviews. Right, a bit of deja vu for you out there. The driver interviews are exactly the same as we had in the qualifying. So, the same three drivers, slightly different order though this time. We've got Craig Curtis coming home in third position. And Craig, say that was a very entertaining race between yourself and Chris Blakey and Joel Lask and Scott. Sorry, not Scott. Oh my God, who was it? Brad Smith as well. I mean, that was heart racing for the first 30 minutes for you.
It was entertaining. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I made quite a good start, but Oliver just managed. I obviously didn't want to make anything bad in the first corner, and sorry, ignore the dogs. But yeah, it was hair-raising first opening 10, 15, 20 minutes, and sorry, the dog's just barking their heads off. But yeah, I don't know if you can hear them.
He's congratulating you on the podium.
Last podium before the holiday. But yeah, I had a good battle. Me and Mr. Blakey were having a bit of a ding-dong back and forth. I think we squeezed each other down into turn 4, and we both went off, I think. But I think we both had the pace. You know, it was a long race to claw the time back. And then I went off again behind, I think it was Chris, Joel and Brad. And had a good battle with Joel for a good few laps as well. So it was a really entertaining race. And then after the pit stops, I just, to be honest, the last 15 minutes, I just didn't want Oliver to lap me. So I was trying to keep the gap ahead. And I just see him on the track map just gaining. I think he's about 3.5, 4 seconds behind at the end. So at least I wasn't lapped and I did the whole race.
I was going to say, I think going on to the last lap, you were the next car he would have got as well. So
yes,
did come a little bit close. But we look forward to COTA. Obviously, a bit of a different track and everything like that. I think you mentioned that you haven't really done much practice, or nobody's done much practice, to be honest. But that probably means that everybody's on a bit of a level playing field all of a sudden. So are you looking forward to it?
I wish I was racing it, but I'm away from next week. From next week, and yeah, obviously the beginning of the Coopers as well. But no, I will be watching it. I'll be tuning in from afar. And but it is a circuit I do love racing on. But so it's a shame I'm missing it. But hopefully we'll get the chance to do it again.
Oh, I was about to start building up to the championship and how you're within touching distance of the next couple of drivers, and that sort of thing. Well, I'll still tell you anyway. You are 55 points, 4 points behind Andy Cowell, who had a good race. Chris Balakey, who we're going to chat to in a minute, is also 5 points ahead of you. But the likes of Johnny Ogden, who didn't have a particularly brilliant race, is within touching distance sort of thing. But I mean, this series is breaking up the major championships, isn't it? I mean, is it a series that really is even on your radar until it rears its head again?
It is. I mean, it is entirely different to what we usually used to on a Wednesday night. I mean, we've got the 2 sprints really, and then these sort of longer endurance races. And I mean, a lot of us have done the, the iRace and the 24-hour races as well, which are a lot of fun.